Hey, creepy peeps, we're coming at you. We're in the same room for once. Me and Dane are here to tell you why this episode's 3 hours long, for anyone's wondering. A little disclaimer before the show.
Yeah, basically, this is my favorite movie of all time, so it was going to be long anyway. And this movie has 5 sections, like 5 different stories, and we go through each of them separately in deep analysis. Nigel took notes and everything, so yeah, it was always meant to be this long. Grow up.
And it also took us 3 days to make, so without further ado, enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Creepy Peepers podcast. We're your hosts, Nigel, just a guy,
and Dane Geringer.
and today we're doing. Is this your favorite horror movie or favorite movie?
This is my number one favorite horror movie / movie of all time. My list of favorite movies. This movie is at the top of the list for many reasons, which I'll get to later. But also, we're covering this movie now in celebration of this movie's 40th anniversary, which happened a couple days ago. We're talking about the 1982 George Romero and Stephen King horror classic, Creepshow.
Bam!
Yeah. I've been excited ever since we started the podcast. I'm like, wow, the day we talk about Creepshow, oh my God. And it's our second episode because I realized, oh my gosh, the Creepshow's 40th anniversary is coming up. We got to cover it as our next episode in celebration.
You are absolutely right. And I'll be honest, before I hadn't seen the movie.
Yeah.
My good friend Mr. Geringer lended me a helping hand, and he lent me his Blu-ray copy because
shout out to Shout Factory for this awesome, beautiful Blu-ray rendition of this movie, because the other Blu-rays out there, it's like a carbon copy of the DVD. And for those DVD collectors, Creepshow has nothing to offer except for the movie and the trailer. And this Blu-ray offers so much. I mean, holy cow. But yeah, shout out to Shout Factory. They're a fantastic company.
I think you mean Scream Factory, Dane.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't want people to go on. Well, okay. Scream Factory does have their own website. Same thing. If you go to Shout Factory, you'll find it. What's your freaking? Oh, aren't you wrong here?
No, actually, the president of Scream Factory is watching this video right now.
Hey, you guys are pretty good, but can you promote our company better next time?
Yeah. We're about to give you guys a sponsorship and let you make your own Creepshow 4.
You guys are going to help out Creepshow Season 4.
Yeah.
Meet Greg Nicotero and Tom Savini. Oh, I'm eating my lunch. We'll get to that later, too.
Oh, yeah, give me a story. Because I didn't get to hear the rest of it.
Yeah, you didn't. Good. We saved it for the pod. Okay.
Actually, really quick, you should tell your Blu-ray anecdote, because that's going to be hilarious.
What Blu-ray anecdote?
The fact that you can't watch this movie.
Oh, yeah. So when I bought these movies on Blu-ray, I had a Blu-ray player that has since broke. So for the past year or two, I have not watched any of my Blu-ray movies, including Creepshow. Luckily, I have a DVD backup, but still, I'd prefer to watch this version because, like I said, the Scream Factory rendition is top notch.
Would you say it's the definitive way to watch Creepshow?
Oh, absolutely. Of course. If you're going to buy this movie as a digital copy, or not a digital copy, if you're going to buy this movie, this is the way to buy it. For sure.
I would absolutely have to agree with you, as this was my first time watching the movie ever. I had heard of it many times, actually. I didn't know how much of a classic it was. Like, I did know, but I didn't really think,
because it's not as big as like Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger, but you catch little hints of it and like subtle references here and there. like just out there in pop culture,
You're
especially
absolutely
now
right.
with the new Creepshow TV show.
Oh, speaking of which, Dane, another little bit of information, history slash trivia about the show that you were gonna share with me. Um, why was it not a show first?
Hmm. Why was it not a show first? Um, because well, they called it Creepshow because when they were making this movie, they were planning to design it based off of the old EC horror comics of the 1950s that were called Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and stuff, but they didn't really have the rights to call it as such. So they just kind of made up their own knockoff comic book horror name and they called it Creepshow. And it wasn't a show, it was a movie. There were three of them. I don't know if we're going to cover the third one. I'd rather not.
We're not.
But
We're not. I'm gonna
we're
say that
not.
right now.
We're not.
The minute I
Yeah.
saw that Newgrounds Flash animation intro,
Yeah, I gave Nigel a sneak peek at the Newgrounds Flash animation at the beginning of Creepshow 3. No, that sealed the deal.
yeah, it sealed its fate of us not watching it.
I don't know how those people made that movie and then like with the finished product said, "Okay, we good to go."
It's
Like
not even
who stared
close.
them right in their eyes and went, "Wow,
Yeah,
good job, guys."
because I'll
But
even
we're
say
definitely
this.
going to cover Creepshow 2 later on down the road.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna cover the show.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this though. Best way. Sorry, I had a goldfish in my mouth.
Yeah, of course you did. Can we
What a big plate you have.
So, as I was saying, it's all in here. That's all they hear.
The Godfather dinner scene.
Look at what they did to my Blu-ray here.
Yeah. Anyway, no. Then you didn't say the favorite part. My favorite part of when he told me this story for the first time. Me and Dane play Xbox with each other, and so I was like, "Wait a minute, did you not know you had a Blu-ray player built into your Xbox?" And you told me what, Dane?
I have an Xbox One, which doesn't have a DVD port.
You have the digital only Xbox One in-app purchase freaking game console. Plug and play system.
Okay, now we're gonna pause here because I just got called upstairs. Okay,
All right, we'll pause.
you cut this part out for sure, please. Can I tell you? That's the
Can you
second
tell me?
time. No, both of them flicked the light, and that's like their way of calling me up. But they both did it for no reason, like just to mess with the light, like just to see if it was like on or off or something.
That's like the bit in like the shows where it's like, oh man, my brother's sick. Then the character has to go up. They're like, ring this bell if you need anything. And then there's about to leave the room. Ding-a-ling. Just seeing if it's working. Freaking.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, the Xbox that I have is a Xbox One. I have to like any games I play on it, I have to digitally uh install, and there's no DVD.
Microtransactions.
Yeah, exactly. There's no disc port or anything. So yeah, all the Blu-ray movies that I have bought and continue to buy since, I can't watch until I get a Blu-ray player, which will be soon.
So then why not just buy the Blu-ray player first?
Because when you're in VStock and you're going through and you catch a Blu-ray of Trilogy of Terror, which is a very rare Blu-ray, you buy that.
That's
You know what I
true.
mean? Dude, I found Rocky Horror on Blu-ray, last copy in VStock. Of course I'm snatching it. You kidding?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And now let's jump into Creepshow. Nigel has prepared actual notes, which is something I didn't expect it. You went above and beyond. You
I
actually,
did.
when you told me that you had notes, you genuinely surprised me. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. He actually like has notes on his phone, like ready to talk about. Like this is perfect.
I really do. And I'll be honest, it's because this movie actually ended up being a lot of fun. I'll be
I'm
honest.
so glad.
When I first like got ready to watch, I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical. Not that it was gonna be good. I was a little skeptical just because I didn't really know. Like, what if this movie was gonna be like worse than you thought? Like horror movies don't really get me, but like I'm worried like some like Evil Dead thing is gonna happen. I'm like, oh my god, freaking
you,
Squidward's
you
gonna
come
pop
to
up on
me.
screen.
You come to me the next day. So, yeah, Creepshow's actually trash.
Yeah. This movie is actually not scary at all. I don't want to watch it ever again.
You're off the podcast.
Yeah. Podcast over. I don't even like horror movies. No, but then I was like, you know what? What am I thinking about? It's got to have a good story. It's an 80s movie. The way 80s movies, like, especially horror, like, I'll be honest, weirdly enough, I'm really excited to do Carrie just because
Ooh,
old horror movies they had like a story. Like, they
yeah.
really, like, now it's just like, oh, let's be scary. No, frick off. Get out.
What are you
Well, except
doing?
for Get Out. No, Get Out was a good movie. That was,
I have not
that's a,
seen Get Out.
I neither have I. I
Oh,
just mean in the sense of like, no, but I mean as far as like story wise, I know that it has a story. I was just
okay.
saying Get Out is like a, the audience will get it. The audience will get it.
Right.
Um, but no, yeah, like they really cared about story back in those times, because that was horror movies hadn't become a like genre yet, and they wouldn't really until another like 20 years. So like when
Mm-hmm.
in the 70s through like the 90s, that's when we like gradually, very, very gradually, like you weren't gonna see like
Right.
74 freaking, yeah. But no, yeah, I was like, you know what, 1982 movie, it's gonna be good either way. I love an 80s movie.
As we all.
Absolutely. So enough talk, let's jump right in. We got the Warner Brothers logo. Oh, right. Whoa. Oh, frick. Wait. Really quick. Yes, I do have creep notes. They're all good. They're all good notes. Um, I will say this though. Do you have a DVD player in your room?
Ooh, not right now.
Oh, I was gonna say I thought
I'm
we
in the
could do the
basement.
double watch along. Because I got the movie. I'm gonna have
Mm,
the movie going.
I mean, it works for Beetlejuice, and like I said, I know Creepshow like the back of my hand, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to steal the spotlight on this one.
Oh no, it's okay. I enjoy it.
Okay.
Good.
That being said, if you could just hang up for me so I can do the podcast. No. I'm actually the creep from Creepshow.
I'm in my castle eating
Yeah.
rats. Get out.
I'm the Flash animation drawing.
Yeah, I'm turning my dog into a hot dog.
Yeah.
What a stupid. Oh my god, I still can't get over it. What a stupid. The fact, just folks, just to let you know, don't even
Folks.
bother with Creepshow 3
Oh,
because
wait.
yeah,
Okay, no. I swear I'm not interrupting. I have a genuine like thing that we forgot to do.
yeah.
We forgot to call the audience the creeps or the peeps.
Oh, okay.
Do you want
I'll
to
do
do the
that
creeps
sometime.
or the peeps, or do you want to do the creepy peeps?
Creepy peeps.
Creepy peeps. Okay.
It's just
All right.
fun to
Go ahead.
say. So, anyways, what I was saying was, don't even bother with Creepshow 3 because to give you a good idea of the quality of that movie, the movie bookends with a hot dog. The beginning has a motif of a hot dog with a horrible like hot dog joke, like "Ooh, spooky kid turns his dog into a hot dog," and then the movie ends with a hot dog. Ghost chokes on a hot dog. Then the scary homeless hot dog man turns around. Horrible CGI. Either way, don't bother with Creepshow 3. We're here to talk about Creepshow 1 because it's a fantastic movie and it deserves this. Happy 40th anniversary. That was my happy birthday whistle.
Oh my god. Okay. Sorry, I ate some more goldfish while you're talking.
Oh my god.
What a parch. It's a big plate.
You're parched of food? You know what
Stop.
parched means?
Stop. Don't make fun of me.
Come on.
I'm the creep from Creepshow. No. No, I'll be honest. Okay. So, so starting the movie off. Also, by the way, coming up is my favorite stereotypical 80s dialogue, mildly abusive father that we're going to
I
see.
know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. That's why
Okay.
God made fathers, babe.
So we start out, we've got a dad. He's mad at his kid because he's got a comic book. And he's like, I'm just going in the garbage, right in the friggin' garbage. Now, got any smart mouth about that? Then the kid references the dad's adult books, quote unquote.
Ooh.
Um,
Under his underwear.
That's right.
As he points out.
And then the kid gets slapped because this is an 80s movie. And that wasn't. Well, actually, to be fair, they actually handle it. For an 80s movie, they actually were like, oh, no, this isn't cool.
Yeah,
Like,
I
they put
think
a
they
little stinger sound.
Oh yeah, the stinger sound really makes that part. I feel like this scene, if they did Creepshow like nowadays, this scene would have been like the exact same,
Oh,
probably.
for sure. Yeah, they were actually really. I mean, because don't get me wrong, like the 80s, people weren't freaking over here like slamming their freaking WWE super slamming their kids into walls. But like at the same time, it wasn't exactly unheard of to get, to get a little blasted.
Yeah. Also, fun tidbit: this little kid in the beginning is Joe Hill, as he's known as today, but as he was known back then, he was Joe King, Stephen King's son.
Oh my God! Wait a minute. He's joking.
They already did that joke. You can't steal that. They already did that joke on Twitter. I follow the Twitter.
Did they really? Wait, on Twitter?
Yes.
All right. You know what? The podcast over. Okay, here it is. Here's the line. Did you steal that crepe? Oh, that horror crepe. He's coming out of crates and eating people. Blood of crepe. Not like a little way.
This is Tom Atkins, by the way.
Yeah.
Tom Atkins, you may know him also from a movie called Night of the Creeps and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Which was actually released, what, like right before this movie?
Yeah, they actually released Creepshow in November because they didn't want to compete with Halloween 3.
Good choice. Because I'll be honest, in a weird way, I feel like this movie would have actually done really good. This might have actually, because you're thinking, it's Halloween 3. Wasn't Halloween 3 like bad? Or was it
people
good?
think it was bad because Michael Myers wasn't in it. It's simply just different. And
that's the one.
It's subpar because it's different. They tried to do something new. And people are like, where's Michael Myers? Horrible movie.
To be fair,
it was a good movie. I saw one.
Halloween is Michael Myers, Like,
this
don't
is
be
true.
wrong. Do something different, but like call it something different. If you can't do two movies actually, you know what? You're gonna freaking get this. You can't do two movies with your freaking mascot, and then the third one switch him out for a Flash animation. You see what I'm doing there?
I see exactly what you're doing there.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. It might not be a bad movie. In fact, we'll probably cover it in season 2. Yeah. But I do feel like they probably should have. I feel like they could have saved themselves by like calling it something.
Right.
Like, if they just called it Season of the Witch, it might have worked.
That's what I'm saying. Because like I know I don't refer to the movie as Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Like outside, I usually just refer to like, oh, this is Season of the Witch. Because there's really no reason to be like, oh, like this is Halloween 3. Because it's not. Michael Myers shows up on a TV in a bar for like 1 second, and that's it. I'm serious.
Forget wrong channel.
No, yeah, exactly. It's like a bar or something. I can't remember what the scene was, but there's a TV and it's showing the trailer. It's like now on ABC. Halloween. Michael Myers coming down the stairs and then he turns the TV off.
Oh, okay. Okay, all
Back
that aside. No, but I genuinely feel like this movie. No, don't get me wrong though. I'm glad that this movie isn't just a cult classic, because I'll be honest, As much as I love Beetlejuice, I could see how people maybe thought it was too weird at the time, where it's like,
Yeah,
what's this movie trying to be? Is it a horror? Is it a comedy? You know, there are a lot
exactly.
of movies like that. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised. Other than the stars, if it like other than the big names in the movie, I'm honestly surprised Ghostbusters wasn't just a cult classic.
Really?
Yeah, no,
That
because when you
makes a
really
lot of
come
sense,
down to it,
actually.
think if anyone else was in those roles. Say it was like Chevy Chase, and tell you what, you could probably keep Dan Aykroyd because he's the ghost guy.
Right.
But instead of Harold Ramis, it was like Christopher Lloyd, and then Eddie Murphy.
Christopher Lloyd would have been great in that movie.
Exactly. But you might not know because if it weren't for Harold Ramis, because everyone knows him as the comedy Caddyshack guy, not as many people might have seen the movie. In fact, Caddyshack now is a cult classic. Nobody liked it at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
What if Ghostbusters? Don't get me wrong. I think the popularity now, Ghostbusters would still probably be as popular as it is today if it were a cult classic then. It seems like a cult classic, even though it's not. It's one of the most saturated, like oversaturated 80s franchises of all time. And yet at the same time, it's like when I watch the original, I can't think of any other movie other than Ghostbusters 2.
You know, folks, I don't think it would be very hard for you guys to predict what movies we're going to cover on this podcast.
Yeah.
we keep derailing and talking about other movies.
In fact, I'm going to break the fourth wall for a moment. We have a cut segment from this episode already that we recorded like 10 minutes ago where I went on like a 2-minute rant about me owning a copy of Dogma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
Anywho.
We really derailed because like literally one of the best parts of the movie just came up. We get introduced to this movie's mascot, the Creep, a withered corpse, I guess, who's wearing some sort of veil.
Mm-hmm. And his official name is the Creep, but what is his name?
Are you asking me or are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you because I want you to respond because you told me earlier I was impressed.
His name is Raul.
Yeah, dude, I was so like because once again, like Nigel impressed me earlier when we were like talking off pod about some of this stuff and planning. And I asked him, I was like, "Oh, I bet you don't know this. What's the name of the Creep?" Raul. I got blasted.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
No, I had to do my my little IMDb trivia research. My Joe Blow,
which is good.
My Joe Blow WTF happened to Creepshow research.
Right. So we're introduced to the Creep, who first appears in the window in live action to Billy is his name, the kid. Billy the kid, the cowboy. Anyways, Creep is in the window, and a lot of people say, like, man, if I was a kid and I saw a skeleton in the window, I'd be freaking out. And yet this kid is just sitting there smiling. But it's like you got to remember, this is Billy. He's into Creepshow. He reads Creepshow. He knows the Creep. So he's like, it's basically seeing Markiplier at your window. Maybe not.
That's your freaking comparison.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Not really. Anywho, we get this really cool transition where the lightning flashes and we cut to not Rick Baker, Rick Catazone's animation. It's like a seamless transition.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me freaking. I paused at the Creep. Let me freaking. Let me press play on my DVD for a second.
It was a scene. I mean, blink and you'll miss it, and you'll kind of be like, "Whoa, hang on a second. How come the Creep looks like a cartoon all of a sudden?" But
whoa. Hey. Wait a minute, really quick.
Yeah.
I keep saying, wait, stop. You're going too fast. We have to.
We need to talk about a different movie for a second.
Yeah. No. No, I will say you forgot to mention the eyes.
The eye.
The Creep's eyes.
They look because they're closed, right? And then they look up slowly and they move. And the creep is like an animatronic puppet made from a real life dead skeleton.
Oh my god! Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
What?
Those are real bones.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not that weird. Actually,
And
yeah,
Tom
yeah,
Savini,
people do that all the time. Actually,
the great
um,
makeup artist Tom Savini, rigged the bones together to become like a puppet, and the eyes move, and the creep laughs, and then lightning strikes, and we're in animation mode. And the creep was actually supposed to do a lot more. He was supposed to actually fly away in live action, but I guess it didn't look quite right, so they just did that part in animation. And
I
we
mean, to be
fly
fair,
down. What?
I was gonna say the creep is kind of cool to look at in the little live action that we do see him in, but for some reason, I feel like if we had stayed on him any longer, and if we did try to do like him flying away, for some reason I imagine like the literal like worst puppeteering, like green screen. No, because like, all right, yeah, the creep looks kind of cool, but he looks like cringy as frick when you think about like what they could have done with him.
Right.
They did not try as hard on him as they did with like any of the other practical effects in this movie, which is fine. They didn't do bad on him. Like, he still looks like a legit figure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just odd.
Right. And
Also, he's missing an eye in any form of media other than the new TV show, and yet he is never depicted ever missing an eye. Except, is he in Creepshow 2? Is his physical form missing an eye? Do they show his
no,
physical form?
no, they show his physical form in Creepshow 2, and he's completely different. He's not even a skeleton.
What is
We'll
he?
get to that. He's okay in the original EC comic books, like Tales from the Crypt. We get the Crypt Keeper, which
Yeah, the
is
Crypt
just this
Keeper.
gross, old, haggard, not rotting Crypt Keeper like in the TV show, but just a really gross old guy.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna say, should we
basically
do the Tales of the Crypt, Tales from the Crypt show on this podcast?
maybe someday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was.
we'll do the movie Demon Knight.
Oh, they had a movie. I was actually gonna say, did they have a
That's right.
movie?
Anywho, yeah, the Creep and Creepshow 2 is actually just a really old vampire looking guy.
Oh, you know what? You know what? Okay, I was gonna say, I was literally just about to like pull up my computer and look it up. No, so the hag from Creepshow 2, I actually know what that looks like. I thought that was a guy from one of the stories. I didn't know that was supposed to be the creep. I
Yeah,
guess
I
that is
think
the creep.
well, he like this movie, he mainly shows up in animated form, but Tom Savini plays his live action form,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
and
saw that in the
he
cast.
shows up in like the beginning and like the end, and it's not as good as the other creep, but it's serviceable. It's a good take. It's like, oh, you get best of both worlds kind of. But anyways, we fly down, we follow the creep over to the trash can because Billy's dad threw his Creepshow comic away in the trash.
Well, now wait just a second. I've got a few more thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, what's the point of even having Creepshow 2 creep be on like all the posters and stuff and everything? Even this Creepshow creep, he has two eyes. And then in the second one, he's not even the same guy. And then
Well,
supposedly in the TV series, it's like, oh, we restored the original creep from the first Creepshow movie. Why does he look so? Wait, choose one thing or choose multiple
no.
things if you'd like.
This is funny because this is stuff that I've held on to like for years of my life that I've just kind of gotten over. And Nigel's experiencing this kind of stuff for the first time, and now it's funny to hear him like it's funny to hear you hung up on like these little like minute continuity errors.
Well, like think
It's
about
just
like
so funny.
Slappy from Goosebumps. Okay, Slappy from Goosebumps has had many different iterations, both animated and live action.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, he's at least always been a traditional like suit wearing puppet.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they made him like a clown puppet, one of Jeff Dunham's freaks from his puppet shows? Shout out Jeff Dunham, by the way. Um, like it doesn't make sense. Why make him like, oh, well, we're almost there. Like we almost got the idea. It's your idea.
Yeah, that's what's frustrating, especially about Creepshow 2, which we'll get to.
Hmm.
A lot of because a lot of the same people worked on Creepshow 2, and
Exactly.
the the DNA of Creepshow, a lot of the DNA that was in the first movie didn't transfer over to Creepshow 2, even though the same people worked on it. And it's frustrating because they keep saying it's budget when they could have still easily have done it, probably. But either way, we'll talk about Creepshow 2 when we get there. We fly down. He threw his comic book away, to which we hear the creep laughing during that part. And the animated trash can whips open, and the Creepshow comic is there, and we get this very fast paced, and Tom Savini and George Romero in the DVD commentary, um, or the Blu-ray commentary, actually, they comment on this too. The credits are spectacular, but they go by way too fast.
That is true. Actually, I'm watching them right now. Yeah, they're spending like 3 seconds on like every name. Spent seconds. Even I even just saw two names go by. And it took like freaking 4 seconds for them to just dissolve into more credits.
Yeah, but it's a great intro. You know, it teases panels and art pieces from up and coming stories that we'll see in the movie, and that's something that Creepshow 2 also does, and it's a really good way. It's a good title sequence structure because they don't give away anything, but they're still showing you like the movie in different clips, and it's really cool. And that takes us after a really kind of missed the mark a jump scare from the creep's head. I'll be honest that
So, is that, I mean, was that even supposed to be? He's
yeah.
like Google Slides animated.
Yeah, dude, the lightning strikes, and then the face of the creep shows up, and he just chuckles, and then we get directed by George Romero.
Well, actually, I was gonna say, no, yeah. So, in the animated, in all of the animations we see, where it'll show us the creep in the comic book form, like animated comic book form, because he sort of transitions all of the stories, and it like shows us like the beginning of what would be a comic about the story that we're gonna watch on screen. He has again two eyes, the long hair, everything. Why is this design so freaking inconsistent? I am getting like genuinely like upset. That's the only knock I have with this movie. Other than that, the movie's great. I actually really like it.
The only knock is that the creep's design is severely inconsistent, not only
Yeah,
in the movie but in the rest of the franchise.
yeah, freaking. Hey guys, welcome back to the Creepy Peepers podcast. I'm your host Nigel, and this is my co-host Tyson Gerinker. The frick. And episode 2, we're here with Desi Gerinker. We're here with Zach Smith. Are you freaking kidding me? Keep it consistent. What is this freaking change? Anyway, sorry. Go on. Go
Anyways,
on. Introduce our
that
first segment.
yes, that takes us into our very first story, Father's Day, and it's of course not the best. And people complain that's like a weak story kind of, but I feel like it's a perfect first story to introduce you to Creepshow because it's funny, it's absurd, it's scary, it's got zombies, and that's pretty much as like classic as George Romero gets. And it has that perfect like Tales from the Crypt twist sort of thing going about it. And I will say, of course it's a weaker story because it's the first sort of, it's their first round, but it's a perfect introduction to how these stories are supposed to feel. I think. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And not only that, do you mind if I read the text?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll do the creep voice. Greetings, kiddies, and welcome to the first issue of Creepshow, the magazine that dares to answer the question, who goes there? And then we have the Father's Day text. So is Creepshow canonically, like, should we just name this as a one-off, or should we say, like, hidden Easter egg, Creepshow is actually a magazine?
What do you mean?
Because it says the first the first frame we see is it calls itself a magazine.
Well, because it is a comic book series, but it's also a magazine because you can like write in and order stuff that they have ads in there,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
you know.
I
So it
guess
is
it
like
does have them.
it's a large magazine. It's a real comic book nowadays. They actually do have actual comic issues that are releasing, I think, sometime this year.
Oh,
Um,
so they are actually making a new series.
yeah, they're making new comic books, like actual comic books, and they're coming out with a season 4 sometime soon. I don't know when it was supposed to come out this Halloween, but whoops, I guess they missed the mark on that one. Had heard no news since.
Just like the jump scare with the freaking creep.
Yeah, no, what a cheap jump scare. Um,
By the
anywho,
way, I hate to
yeah.
sound like a 50s first time television user, but the picture on this movie is spectacular. Doesn't it look great? Oh, never mind. Dane. I forgot you had the Genesis plug and play. It only takes cartridges.
I gotta be honest, dude. My DVD copy of Creepshow, it is so severely blurry that you would think that this movie was a made-for-television movie. I swear to God.
CRT TV.
Yes, I swear. You would think this movie cost $10 to make.
The FNAF
That's how bad the quality
security
is.
cameras.
But no, this Blu-ray version where they took the original film strip and cleaned it out and
This
Blu-rayed
looks
it,
gorgeous. It really does.
it's gorgeous. I love it. Anywho,
Okay, actually, I have one
read
quick
your,
note. I have one quick
read your
note
note.
before we get ahead of ourselves. Yeah, the picture looks great, but this like opened really well, and I do agree with you. This was the perfect thing to get me into it because I didn't know how the stories were going to be told. I had no like you didn't give me any spoilers, you didn't give me anything. Um, so I was kind of just like watching, and there's a part that we're gonna get to where like things started happening too fast for my brain to like start commenting on them.
Huh.
But I'll let you describe like the scene that we open up on.
Okay, so we pan down from the title Father's Day into the first panel, which is a drawn still that we fade into, and that's how pretty much every Creepshow story begins and ends for like Creepshow 1, 2, and the whole series. And it's, I mean, once again, it's perfect. I mean, how else will you tell the audience, hey, we're going from outside, the comic in reality and into the story of the comic book, and it just you fade in, you realize, oh my God, wait, we're actually witnessing the story of the comic book, and we were looking at the I forgot their name, the Granthams. There we go, the
That's
Grantham
absolutely
family. We're looking at the Grantham family. They're all hanging out in their mansion, their living room, and we have Cass, we have Ed Harris. Holy cow, what's he doing in this movie? We have Ed Harris with hair.
Ed
And,
Harris.
we have oh, what's his name? Not Mel Brooks. Who's the guy? Who's the gay guy? No, it sounds like Mel Brooks, but I know it's not Mel. Who's the gay guy?
I don't know
Oh,
his
the
actor's name.
Cass's brother.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his actor's name.
Okay, well, it's the Grantham family. They're all sitting around, and you can tell that these are people who are just not fun to be around.
They
This is a
are money.
Thanksgiving. They're funny, but this is a Thanksgiving
No,
that
no, no, no. They're money.
their money.
Yeah, they are money.
They are money.
If you
Yeah,
slit their wrist, they would bleed money.
this is true. And all they do is complain, especially Cass. Ed Harris is just kind of along for the ride, and he's really confused. And you can tell he's a new member of this sort of family.
he hopes that
And,
he hopes they can use some of those dollar bills to cover up his bald spot.
yeah, and they start to tell him, oh, it's Father's Day, and we're expecting Aunt Bedelia, and you can set your watch by her. And she, for the past 7 years, she's been coming here to our grave of Nathan Grantham, her father. He's been visiting his grave for the past 7 years, every Father's Day, and then we'll all come in, sit down, have a nice dinner, and things are gonna go great for this white rich family. And I'm not saying white like, oh, they're all white people. No, like you look at this house and everything they're wearing, it's all some tinge of white or cream or tan. There's only like one wooden clock or something, or like table or something. But like this is like stereotypical rich mansion house of the time. Do you have any notes that are surrounding these scenes, or can I go on?
Here's what I'll say. I actually have a few notes. Okay,
Okay.
let me ask, where are you? Where are you in the scene right now as far as your description? Like I don't want to get ahead of you.
I'm basically just describing that Ed Harris is basically a newcomer, and they're explaining that they're expecting Aunt Bedelia, and they're waiting for her to come over
Okay,
and visit
okay.
the grave and eat.
I actually do have a note, and I told you this actually earlier, like a couple hours ago. Um, so yeah, when we first see the little like where it like shows like Aunt Bedelia and everything, we see her like driving and she's like skidding all over the road and stuff, and they show her and she's like all like haggard.
Does this say?
Yeah, I
That's what she
thought
says.
I thought like her character was gonna be like the like witch grandma from the Addams family. Not necessarily mean, just like crotchety.
Right. Cat
Yeah,
lady from The Simpsons.
exactly. Yeah, but she ends up not being that. Yeah. But yeah, that was the only note I had, at least till this part.
Okay. So they're all sitting down, and Ed Harris is like, why is Aunt Bedelia so weird? And they're pretty upfront, actually, about everything here. They're like, oh, Aunt Bedelia used to take care of her father, and her father nagged her so much. Her father hired a hitman to kill her fiance,
Okay,
and it was
okay.
a quote hunting accident.
You just brought up the two other notes I had.
Okay,
Okay,
go ahead.
my first note, when it cut, like I was still trying to like think of like I was still processing everything they had said, so I like know all the lore and everything. And while I'm thinking of that, I'm like, oh, we have a minute while they're talking, and then it immediately cut to like the little comic book framing, like you're all a bunch of dirty vultures, just waiting to get your hands on my money. And the minute that happened, I'm like, all right, I gotta pause the movie. I don't know what this fast paced action was.
That part is jolting.
It is, yeah. They literally, I think they did that on purpose. They just literally stuck it in like when you thought you'd have a moment.
I
Um,
think it's like a mini jump scare, just a
I
mini
think it
one.
is. Yeah,
It
better
doesn't
jump
jump
scare
scare
than
you, but it catches
the
you off
creep.
guard. Yeah, freaking no. Yeah. So he also, by the way, one of the actual like good jump scares of this movie that I like count on the list of like jump scares Creepshow has
Is in
is
this.
when what?
Is in this. That this was the I think the only jump scare that got me in this movie was in this one.
It's
Just
it's
so
when it's when they're talking about how it was a hunting accident, and he says the line Yarborough was his name, and he supposedly died, and it smash cuts with a loud shotgun noise and this comic book like framing of Yarborough like flying back into a pond in the woods after being shot.
oh, that
And
was
it
yours?
no that jump scare actually like got me a lot as a kid. Like every time I watched that movie, I would like brace myself for that part because I could never really time it well.
I'll be honest, that's not the one that got me. That one's still coming up.
Oh,
But
okay.
I will say though, okay, explain to me why. Uh, oh, and I'm about to name a movie that we might actually have to that I might actually have to add to the list.
Yeah.
So explain to me why the hunting outfit that her fiance wears and the actor playing him, even though we only see him for a second, I don't know if it's the way that they framed it or whatever. He looks exactly like the
Jumanji.
one hunting guy from Jumanji.
Yep. Yep. I called it
Yeah,
Jumanji.
he
Yeah.
literally looks just like him. Like even like facially. Like I thought, like, oh, the freaking same guy. Yeah. Do you think we should add that to the list?
I think it would be a good topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's going on.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I can't believe I didn't think of that. But yeah, no, I thought he looked just like him. Also, a little Easter egg, really quick, because I may as well say it now, so I don't say it later. It's like, oh, we all knew that.
Yeah.
It took me an embarrassing amount of time before I realized that the dad of Robin Williams' character and the hunting guy were the same guy. First of all, why are they the same guy? That doesn't make sense. There's no
Those
like
fairy
even for
tale
the sake
movies
of the
tend to do
story.
that a lot. Remember Peter Pan?
No.
Okay. You know what? We'll save
I,
it for Jumanji.
yeah. Oh, we have to add
Okay.
books to the list.
Um.
Jumanji.
Anywho.
I'll stick it under Hocus Pocus. We'll do a
Okay.
little 90s section. Jumanji.
So, tidbit here. This is actually included in the deleted scenes. There's a scene where when they're talking about her fiance's death, that they show a scene where Delia has to identify the body of her fiance, and they pull the drape down, and it shows his face, and half of his head and cheek is just blown off, and it cuts to her like screaming the word yes, and the doctors are like dragging her out and shutting the doors and stuff, and putting the drape back over, and that was included in the comic book too, and it was never included in the movie, and I
it was in the
wonder.
trailer.
It was in the trailer too. Yeah, it's in the trailer, not completely, but it's in the trailer. And I just gotta wonder how come they didn't include it.
I'll be
You know?
honest. I did watch the deleted scenes, and I think the reason why is the same as why they cut out the one scene with but we'll get to a future character and their remains floating up in
Oh
the
yeah.
water.
Uh
I
huh.
think it's because it was too like again, this movie is a horror, but it's kind of like that goosebumpsy horror where it's more
Right.
implied. It's more
Yeah.
implied horror than like think about it. Even when they showed the guy get shot by the dad or whatever, um, then there was a there was a like smash cut. They weren't going to show him like get fully blasted. They could have. It's an R-rated movie,
That's
but
true.
yeah, I think they just didn't want to. Because I'll be honest, that deleted scene, especially because it's got all that VHS like film over it,
Uh huh.
that was a little
Was
that
it
kind of
creepy?
got me.
It kind of crept on you a bit.
Yeah.
Me too. Honestly, out of all the deleted scenes that I've watched of that movie, that one definitely leaves me with a off feeling in my tummy.
Because it's too manic. Creepshow's supposed to be like not like it's not inherently a comedy as much as it is like things are kind of like it's funny how exaggerated things are, but
Right.
that's too scary exaggerated.
It was too real. It was too
Yeah,
like
it was so
it was
manic.
too
Like it was
scary
so
without the funny.
yeah.
But Bedelia arrives, screeching. She's drunk, and she gets out and she takes a flower off the like roof or something, like the patio, and as she's walking over to the grave, she starts getting faded memories of the night that her father died. They're slowly creeping back into her head, and we're seeing the full backstory now. And Bedelia was making her dad's cake, and her dad being her dad, he was yelling, "Oh, where's my cake?" He was smashing his cane against the chair. "Where's my Father's Day cake? You better hurry up." He was calling her a bunch of horrible names and stuff, and this was the last straw. She freaked out. She came out with an ashtray and slammed it on his head and killed him there, and he died.
I'll be
And
100% honest.
yeah,
And I just actually this was a live reaction. I think this might, weirdly enough, I think as far as like disturb, I think this might actually be one of the most disturbing stories in Creepshow. And I say that because as I was watching, there's something about the way that the frames get smaller and tighter
yeah,
as he's screaming, and just the how loud the cane slamming. Like they did this on purpose. You're supposed to feel like this is how she felt in her brain. But like I genuinely, like, my face was like, and I've seen this. I saw this like 2 days ago. I I was genuinely like getting uncomfortable again.
I know the
That's
way the frames close in and make everything smaller and smaller. It's a really masterful shot way of depicting this scene.
yeah. That really got me. I don't know. Like good.
Um,
Like they do good with this. Ooh, okay. Also, little note here. When she's like really giving him the gruff, like to his grave, she does this one move where she like clicks her tongue, like does like a like sort of like semi chopping motion towards him, and then does like a I don't know why, but that's like I found that really cool. I don't even know why. Like that's like one of the scenes in like an action movie where the character's like, "Ooh, it's gonna happen. You're gonna get it
yeah,
now." And like school
I can
bullying
hear
him.
your movie.
Also, um, well, I guess
Spoiling. You're kind of
I guess,
spoiling it audioly.
yeah. I'll turn up my volume.
You're getting ahead of
Uh,
me now.
I'll let you explain what just happened, because I mean, to be fair, we were already there. You just can't. We just didn't see
Right.
it.
So we fade out from the really tight, compact, anxiety-ridden scene of her losing it and killing her dad, and somehow she didn't go to jail for it, I guess. And because that's she's the daughter of this man. She feels really guilty, so she always comes back year after year. And we fade back to this beautiful, cemetery landscape. And she lays her coat next to the grave, and she goes on this drunken filled rant about that night. And um, Stephen King actually didn't like the direction this actress was taking the character, but I'll say, like, as funny as it may be, like when you first watch it, like it's actually really well acted, like monologue.
Oh, it's great. I
Yeah.
honestly, I really enjoyed it. Um, I swear that's the same lady. I don't know if they just like same actress it or what, but like I'm gonna need to look at a side by side. Okay, so they explain that the maid helped her to like cover up the murder, and then they show another maid who is still working there. This was only supposed to be like,
7 years.
yeah, 7 years of time. I swear that's the same lady.
The
Why
same
wouldn't
maid.
it be? Why
It
wouldn't
is.
it be?
It's the
Okay, it
same
is.
lady.
I was gonna say, because if it's
Hmm.
not, like,
Mr.
what's the point?
Danvers.
Don't cover it up.
Yeah, Mrs.
Yeah,
Danvers.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Go ahead.
we she does this great perform monologue, and here comes a point of debate amongst Creepshow fans that I've seen come up a lot. The movie makes a point to with the camera to notice that she spills her, what was she drinking? Like Jim Beam?
Jim Beam. Yep.
Yeah. She spills the bottle of Jim Beam over her dad's grave.
Mm.
And then she looks off, says, "Oh, how peaceful." And then Nathan Grantham comes right out of the grave. And people have been wondering for years whether it was just coincidence or the Jim Beam like kickstart something, you know?
I'll be honest. At first I didn't even connect the two. I just thought, oh, he's just gonna. In fact, I was wondering at first. I'm like, oh, well, why did he come out now? Um, but yeah, no. So not just that, but there was on the IMDb trivia for this movie. There, I think like one or two entries that say like, oh yeah, so the whiskey definitely was supposed to be part of it. Because other than that, why would they focus on it? But also there was a thing. There was something where it was like, oh, whiskey in another language is the water of life, and he comes back to life after she spills it on him.
Oh, that's right. I
But
remember
I will
hearing about
say
that.
though, my personal grudge with this is that she spills it and she like looks off. He like, of course, like every zombie ever, sticks his hand right out of the freaking grave, and then she just looks over at first, like, yeah, you're in shock, but
She
you
slowly
didn't
turns her
jump.
head.
Yeah, like you don't jump, and
By the way,
like,
was this the jump scare that you were referring to that got
yes,
you?
that got me. But like, like it couldn't even get me. It didn't even get me that good because she didn't react. Like it had me, but then she was like, "Oh, huh."
Oh,
Yeah, this leads to a chain reaction that I'll be honest, kind of tones down. Like, don't get me wrong, they kind of redeem themselves a little later, but this is gonna lead to two scenes actually, um, that are like the most horror movie freaking. Oh, why'd the character do this? Thing
yeah.
ever. Like, first of all, we get with Bedelia. Okay, this is a zombie, a 7-year-old decaying corpse. Not even like a, oh, he's like radioactive. No, he was moving so slowly. And sure, she's old, but she's not that old. You can't crawl away.
Well, I feel like because she's drunk, first of all, she's old. She's already showed up with like emotional baggage. And I just feel like just this happening, and this is my lame excuse as to maybe why she didn't move. But like I feel like at that point she just was shocked, you know, because of all this stuff that was added up on top of already, you know, the other effects she had, like being drunk and old and the emotional baggage, you know. But that's just my reasoning. Again, you know, other horror movies have the same stupid trope.
Yeah.
Nathan Grantham comes out of the grave and, like you said, very slowly attacks Bedelia. He chokes her, which once again, like, because with Creepshow there aren't any zombies. If you notice, when a person comes back from the dead, they're not a zombie. They're like living, and they're out for revenge
You're right. Yeah.
more than like a mindless like, oh, I'm a cannibal like zombie. So Nathan Grantham doesn't like eat her. He just chokes her out and then moves
Yeah.
on with his day.
I was actually gonna say, I was actually gonna say about this movie. This movie really, like, it's actually kind of cool. It's like a little like, it's kind of like a Grimm's fairy tale almost, in the fact that there's some sort of moral, I guess, but the moral is
Mhm.
don't kill your dad. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a moral in almost every Creepshow story. That's and same thing with from the Crypt. That's kind of what goes hand in hand with these horror stories.
Yeah.
And so we cut back to the family, and is it dark now? Are they doing the dance? I can't tell. Is this the scene
Yes.
where they're dancing?
They're doing. Let's talk
Don't
about it.
let go.
Yeah. Also, okay.
Don't
Yeah.
let
I'll be
go.
honest.
Don't let go.
That
I have that
that
song on my
song.
playlist.
Yeah, I was gonna say I gotta add that to mine because that is a great song. I'll
It is
tell
a
you this
great film.
though. Dance with the cringiest. Like, can we show this to now Ed Harris when he's in freaking? Which one
No,
is
he
he in?
knows.
Is he in Big or is he in Elf?
I don't think
It's
I've seen Ed Harris in Elf.
okay. Maybe I'm thinking. I always mix him up with the one guy, with the
Ed
actual
Harris
old
is a
guy from.
serious. Ed Harris is a serious actor nowadays. So, but yeah, he's well aware of his goofy dance in this movie because I've seen interviews. He's well aware.
He's
He
like,
doesn't mind.
I've never actually heard of this movie. Creepshow. I don't know. I don't know.
Ed Harris actually did this movie as a favor to George Romero because
That's right. I saw a video about this.
in the previous movie, not in the previous movie, previously George Romero and Ed Harris, along with Stephen King and many other people who show up in Creepshow, uh, worked on a movie called Night Riders, which is a movie I have never seen and I am itching to watch because for some reason the premise of that movie looks fantastic.
Yeah. Um.
Motorcycle nights in the 70s. I
Wait,
mean,
what? That's the premise? On
yeah,
the videos that I saw,
it's
they just showed
jousting.
Ed Harris on a horse, and I'm like, yeah, this movie looks stupid.
It's jousting knights on motorcycles, and Tom Savini's in it. Stephen King, George Romero, Ed Harris, Warner Shook. That's his name. The gay guy from Father's Day, the brother. He's in
Oh,
it.
I thought you were asking scared name. I was like, Richard, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just remembered his name. Warner Shook is his name.
Hmm.
I don't know if he's actually gay, but he puts on a very feminine acting in this role.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Wait. Where are we in the scene? By the way, I don't want to. I don't
We
want to
got
like
the Ed
go.
Harris and Cass dancing.
They're dancing still. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what you were saying. Yeah. I mean. Okay. You know what? Let me. I don't even know why. I kind of gave up letting this movie just run, so I'm way ahead of myself. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm already on our freaking second scene. Okay.
Do you have notes for anything that I've talked about, or are we good?
Yes, I do have notes.
Okay.
My group notes. Yeah. The old lady. Okay, so yeah, Vivica Lindfors
Yes, that's her name.
does a really good job in this,
Absolutely.
and not just that, but I also again, just a really good performance just overall as Aunt Bedelia. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm trying to like look over my notes while I'm like.
she was great in this movie. You can tell she's a veteran actress, and yeah, she did a fantastic job. Tom Savini was actually fanboying over her when she came to set because he watched like all of the old films that she was in. According to Tom Savini, I'm not dogging him,
Yeah.
but I will later.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but we'll get to that. um,
Um, so they're dancing, and then I forget their mom's name. I guess that's their mom, the lady of the house.
yeah.
I forget her name, but she comes storming in. Cass, turn
Oh
that
yeah.
down and turn it down right now.
Literally everyone listening to us do anything.
Turn that down and turn it down right now.
Yeah.
I don't know why she's so upset about that. But anyways, she comes in. Mrs. Danvers shows up. She's like, "Shall I steam the ham now, ma'am?" And
Oh
she's
yeah.
she's
Mrs.
like,
Danvers gets really offended when the son takes the wine out of the bucket. I have no idea why, but she is like shocked.
he's a jerk. He comes over. He's like, "No brand, Miss D."
But like he didn't do anything that bad. He just took some wine and she's like, "Well, I never."
Well, I mean, he's been a jerk and he's been there for like many years. You know, they've known each other for a long time. So, you know, she probably is just like, "Oh my god, this creep is touching all this stuff and I hate it." Anyways,
And then the creep from Creepshow comes in, and then Miss Danvers gets really mad because he never looks the same. She thinks there's multiple ghouls. Freaking haunted mansion.
Uh,
Um,
so she goes back in there, and the lady of the house, I keep forgetting her name, and
yeah, I
Carrie
don't know.
Nye is the actress's name,
Yeah.
but I forget the character's name. Um, by the way, I forgot to mention in the very beginning scene of this story, they call each other hogs, and
No,
I'm
no,
just
no,
like,
no, 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 no. So here's what happened. Cass is like eating a bunch of scones, and then the mom, the lady of the house, whatever,
mhm.
she's like, "Oh, give me those scones. You're such a hog. Ed Harris, you married such a hog, but I'm sure you know that."
uh, yeah, great dialogue.
Yeah.
I love that part. I laugh every time they do that bit. Anywho, back to where we are in the story.
Mm.
Um, she's like, "Oh, you know, Abedelia is supposed to be in here by now. Perhaps she's, in the grave still. Ed Harris, why don't you go? Because you sure I'm sure you know Abedelia. Go ahead and go meet her in the dark cemetery.
Exactly.
Well,
It's the
I won't send
stupidest.
one of my family members after her. No,
Yeah,
I'll
don't
just send
send
the
Richard. Don't
newcomer.
send your smug freaking son.
Yeah, I'll just send this poor newcomer. So he comes out um in the night, and this is where that really good comic book mood lighting comes in, where instead of just like filming in just the pitch black forest, they like make the darkness a bright blue color and the moonlight this bright yellow color, and it's just really colorful, cool, moody cemetery scene.
You almost forgot. Ed Harris actually does something really, really cool when he first gets outside.
I was going to mention, actually, I was just about to talk about it. He
Yeah.
comes out and he takes a match and he lights a cigarette with a match on the brick wall on the side of the house,
He
and he
does
lights
this
a
like
cigarette
behind the back reach
behind the
around
back too, like a reach
varial
around,
kick flip.
like coolest move ever.
Awesome, dude.
Um, he's like standing right beside the door. He's like, Bedelia, Miss Grantham, are you around?
Oh.
Poor guy. I honestly feel bad for Richard here.
Yeah.
Um, so he's like,
No, no,
okay,
no.
might as
Richard's the
well go.
son. Richard's the son.
Oh, so then who's Ed Harris's character?
Ed Harris. That's how he's
Okay, we're
credited.
just gonna call him Ed Harris.
Yeah, Ed Harris.
Um, so Ed Harris, he walks out into the graveyard, and he's creeping around. Tense moment. There's a couple of tombstone jump scares, which used to get me as a kid because you kind of forget about them. They don't stand out until they happen. And then he makes his way over to Nathan Grantham's grave, and he he picks up the Jim Beam that Aunt Bedelia dropped, and he's like, "Oh, this has been sitting out here all night. I'm gonna drink it."
Yeah.
And
So gross, bro.
he he tries to take a swig, and he steps in what I assume to be the mud created by the Jim Beam, and he trips and falls, and nearly hits his head on Nathan Grantham's grave. And he trips and falls, and he does the cool guy laughs it off, and then the tombstone like kind of shifts, and he's like, "Oh," like, and for some reason, the tombstone is two halves. It's not one big tombstone. It's just the base and then the rest of the tombstone, and the tombstone is sliding, and the big top half is like kind of inching towards him. And here's another one of those parts that Nigel you were talking about where the character doesn't move.
Yeah.
Like, get up.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not even like, here's the thing. Say this were even like, because yeah, it's obviously a little paranormal. Like, I was like, oh, who's doing this? But like, again, this is the most like biologically accurate zombie. Like, can't move hardly that well. Like, real time decaying. He's not even like pushing it with his hands. Theoretically, I guess he's like telekinesising it. I don't even know.
That's
But
what,
like,
yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about too. Is like because apparently he's either standing there putting his arms up like a zombie, or he's telekinesis. I can't say it.
telekinesis.
He's like he's either just standing there or he's moving the tombstone closer to fall. And again, Ed Harris, he decides not to get up.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and
This is
he
where I'll
sees
be
the
honest.
shadow. Yeah.
This is where, like, again, like this actually got a little creepy. We
Ooh, really?
see, we see, oh, what's his name? Nathan. We
Yeah.
see Nathan just like apparently this guy's just been wandering around a graveyard for the past 3 hours. And then he like looks right at Ed Harris and like kind of like he like telekinesing friggin' Dane Gringer. Um, words of the wise over here. Um, and then yeah, he like telekineses it onto Ed Harris, and like that's because I imagine just being a passerby, not even like seeing him crush Ed Harris, just like being a passerby, seeing Nathan Grantham walking around.
Yeah, that's honestly creepy thought.
Yeah. Also, I'll give it to this story. Wasn't this the cover to Creepshow, like him coming out of the grave?
Oh yeah, it was the cover of the comic.
Yeah, in the comic of
Mhm.
Creepshow, Nathan Grantham exiting his grave. Honestly, a pretty cool sight, especially the fact that it is a movie version.
Yeah,
Not bad.
yeah, pretty
Um,
great.
yeah, freaking great. uh,
Anyway,
yeah. Anyways,
so he either uses powers or doesn't to push the stone over onto Ed Harris's head, and it makes this really weird 80s like smushing sound. There's a
yeah,
lot of
it makes like a little,
yeah,
but but
like that.
Ed Harris also becomes immediately like goes from like 100% cool to like the most wuss freaking diaper baby.
With his
The
scream.
noise he makes when he's about to get oh my god, freaking ghost.
Uh, so the tombstone falls and crushes poor Ed Harris, and I gotta be honest, I laugh at this part every time too. It falls, and then Nathan just kind of turns around and chuckles to himself. He's just like, and then he just wanders off, asking where his cake is. Where's my cake? I want it. It's mine. And then guess what? We cut back to Cass by herself dancing to the same song.
I
You
can't.
kidding me?
What are these people doing? You got Nathan Grantham, 3 hours. Okay, at least he's a corpse. At least his brain is rotting. Meanwhile, these people are just look at Ed Harris outside. Oh, let me drink this nasty freaking liquor off the ground. Oh, I fell in my grave. I guess I won't move. And then Cass over here, biggest brain in the universe. Don't let go.
So she's dancing, and then the lady of the house shows up, and she's like, blah blah blah. No, she doesn't say something first. Sorry, I got mixed up. Cass is like, I want my dinner and I want my husband.
I want my Ed Harris.
I want my hitters. And the lady of the house is like, oh, maybe with your Aunt Bedelia.
Hank.
Go out and
I
see.
just saw a caption.
Hank.
Hank.
That is his name. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're right. Okay. He's like, maybe he's out there hobnobbing with Aunt Bedelia. And
I have a note about this, but please continue.
okay. She's just like, I'll go at them. I'll go see how they're chatting up. And she for some reason goes through the kitchen way, and I guess she's telling Miss Danvers something, but she goes in and the kitchen's dark and flooded with this moody all blue lighting.
Wait. I'll say the note now just because I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because we're about to
Okay.
this is where like the meat of the actual like skit comes from. Skit. Story.
Creepshow SNL skit.
Yeah. Adam Sandler. Guess who it is? It's not great though, Mr. Sandman. Yeah, no. So basically, no. So the mom says, "I'll go get him. After all, he's such a sweet boy." And then like Richard kind of gives like a little smile.
And then he drops the smile.
Yeah. Does the
What did Martha
mom want to
say?
frick Ed Harris?
Yeah. Like what? There's so much that's implied there.
But not to mention, not only that, does Cass want to frick her brother? No, because like if you like really pay attention to like some of the expressions, like Cass is like, "You go, Richard," and like the look she gives, a little not sisterly. I don't know. It's a little.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to pinpoint everyone's relationships
Yeah.
in the family, but
And then Aunt Bedelia looks at Nathan. No.
maybe that's why they all,
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Family ties.
so she goes in there and she's like, Mrs. Danvers, and for this whole like episode, I thought that Miss Danvers and the lady of the house had like at least a good relationship, but
Yeah,
she
so did
enters
I.
the room. She goes, Miss Danvers, and then she sees the pots are still boiling. She goes, Mrs. Danvers, and I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe they just treat Mrs. Danvers bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
And she looks down and she sees either bloody or muddy footprints. I really can't. I think it's mud actually because Tom
Yeah, it's
Savini
probably
says
mud.
it's mud. Okay, so she looks down and there's muddy footprints tracking through the kitchen. She's like, "What the H?" And then she opens the door. Or no, she's standing in the doorway still. Sorry, yeah, she's standing in the doorway and she calls out for Mrs. Danvers one more time, and Mrs. Danvers' like face presses up the window because there's a circular like kitchen window in their door to the kitchen. It's like a window. Her face presses up against like the window. Apparently, her body was just laying up against the kitchen door.
Mm.
And it starts playing the Creepshow music. And by the way, this lady's voice was like deep throughout this whole episode. And then as soon as she starts screaming, she turns into like a 20-year-old. Have you noticed that?
I did notice that. That was like one of the weirdest parts about it.
Like the whole movie, she's like, "Oh, you're such a hog," and then cut to her.
PewDiePie playing Amnesia.
Oh, j'ave la fite.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's freaking out and she tries to make a run for it, and then Nathan Grantham's standing there and it goes woo, and and then he goes, "I want my cake," and he takes her head and twists it 360, snapping her neck.
Okay. Let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
Also, we're at 55 minutes of just this recording session.
I know. I don't think we're gonna get through the whole movie under 2 hours.
Yeah. What was I gonna say though?
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, so basically, I can't even. So why is this movie like so good until it's not? What is that like jump cut to freaking like her head twisted around, like that, what who was the editor on this? Like everywhere else, it's like, oh, that's so cool, and then yeah, I'm literally watching the scene right now. It's the laziest cut. Like, oh, you can't snap her neck, so let's put the Capri Sun.
Fun fact, actually, during the filming of this scene, I think the actress Carrie Nye was actually standing offset while they were twisting the dummy head around.
Yeah, exactly.
And every time they twisted the head around, she would go a comment like, "Keep your hands to yourself." Oh my God. Jesus Christ. It was like a blooper reel or something. It was like a VHS home recording of them filming that head twist scene. And it was like a dummy that they just twisted the head around.
Well, yeah.
And Carrie Nye was like on set. And every time they twisted the head, she would do a bit.
Oh,
like,
I see. I thought you were saying like she would walk on set as if like senilely being like, Oh, is that me? Don't touch me.
That would be funnier, actually.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, after her head gets twisted, it's just Warner Shook's character and Cass, and they're like, "Where is everybody? How come
Oh
we
yeah,
decided to stay in one room of the house and
the
wait?"
most like complaining people ever. Where is everybody?
So she's like, "Can we go? Can we go and get them, please?" And he's like, "Look, I just want to get another bottle of wine." Because all this man cares about is alcohol for some reason. And he's like, "Okay, fine, let's go. Come on."
Yeah.
And so they go into the kitchen. Again, same moody lighting. And this part's funny. It plays like flute music for some reason. And they walk in the kitchen and he goes, "Conserving energy."
Yeah.
Lights are all out. Which I
To
never
be
got that
fair,
line.
why are all the lights turned off in the kitchen? Both when,
I
because
don't know,
I
just
can't
a
imagine
moody
why.
atmosphere.
Well, yeah, the like atmosphere, like you don't really think about it, but like when you really think about it, when Mrs. Danvers, like when she goes back there for Mrs. Danvers, all the lights are off, and when like why are the lights off? Who turned the lights off?
Maybe Nathan Grantham like cut the power in that area or something. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe he was like, "Ooh, the switch is right here by the back door."
no. Oh yeah, I guess to like shield like anyone's vision from him trying to kill you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they go in the kitchen and Warner Shook and Cass both notice the muddy footprints on the floor again, and they're like, "That's odd." And they go to open the second door, and out comes one of the most iconic visual like trademarks of this movie. Nathan Grantham is holding the head of the lady of the house with icing and candlesticks on her head.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Look at me, I got my cake." And we get the comic book lighting and panels and the music, and it is just an iconic image, the image of Nathan Grantham holding her head, the cake head. It's just synonymous with the Creepshow DNA.
I
And
was gonna say what got this for me. This was the first time I had been introduced to their motif, which is we first see. In fact, this was so iconic, I guess, for them too, that it's in the little Blu-ray main menu video, like the little clips that they show you.
that's
Um,
right.
we see Warner Shook and we see he does that little like shocked head shake, like where it's like
Okay,
kind of like jittering back and forth on its.
can I ask? I don't know if you hear it, but when he screams, every time I watch that part, it sounds like he's screaming, "Blueberries, no!"
Really?
Why?
Hang on, let
Blueberries.
me let me actually let me do it live.
I think it's him screaming with his lips shaking around. But yeah, give it a listen.
Yeah, I'll do a live listen. And this is a live podcast. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here, I'll turn it up. Yeah, so it does actually. You're right. It does kind of sound like he's saying blueberries now.
But like, that's not what he's saying,
It's
of course.
not. He's saying, "Oh my god," but it's captioned, or at least it's captioned as "Oh my
Oh,
god."
really?
Yeah, but like
That
he
makes more
says
sense.
it like, "Oh my god."
Let's say, okay, that makes so. Oh my god, like it's such a stupid, trivial thing, but like that solved like one of the major issues of my life. Just
Yeah.
trying to figure out what Warner Shook says in this scene.
I'll be 100% honest though. I'll give you this. The way that Cass reacts is perfect.
Really?
Like, yeah, like Warner's is a little goofy. It's like a little low,
Like
just
Scooby
with the
Doo.
camera. Yeah. But Cass is just like perfect. Like it's just generic, like scream to the camera. Like
Right.
that there, that's like any horror movie. You could
Yeah,
show that to anybody without like Creepshow being a thing, and they'd be like, "Oh, what movie is this?" You know, like it's just such an intriguing one.
right. And we get for the first time, I think we get the iconic red with black spikes background,
You're absolutely right.
the shock scream moments of these movies, which is like one of the greatest motifs of this movie.
Do they still have those in Creepshow too?
They have it in the show, but they don't have it in Creepshow 2, which is
What?
and which is bad
Yeah, it's the best
because
part.
the director of photography that worked on Creepshow 1, who was in charge of setting up those comic book shots, was the director of Creepshow 2. So how he missed the mark on
You're
that,
right.
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
I remember that because I remember seeing a bunch of stuff about that. Yeah.
And and they try kind of, but like as a Creepshow 2, like sort of, well, Creepshow fan in general, whenever I watch Creepshow 2, like in my brain, I like to plant like where I think like the shock backgrounds would go if they did them in the movie.
Hmm.
And I just like when I imagine in my head, like the Creepshow 2 would have been like, oh, like just another tier better if they had the iconic like lights and the backgrounds and the the screaming moments. I mean,
Oh, it's okay because we all know the best part of Back to the Future 2 when Marty gets on the motorcycle and travels back to 1864 and then stops President Lincoln from getting shot. Remember that?
no.
And that's what I thought because they don't change it. They keep it as a DeLorean. They keep everything the same. Is it 1884? No, it's 1885 because you can only do 85 and 55. It has to end in 5 and it has to be the DeLorean. Okay, just like Creepshow, you need the comic book shock scene.
I know. Yeah, the
That's my favorite part. I have ADHD. You want me to not concentrate on that? Oh, I'm there.
oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, maybe that's why I love those too, is because of my ADHD. Anyways, don't worry though, they have those in the TV show.
Do they? Oh
Hmm.
wow! All right, that actually might be better, just because
Yeah,
that's like
they
10
do the
what?
line
How many episodes?
3 seasons.
3 seasons? Yeah, it's like 3 seasons worth of those stock.
Uh-huh. They don't have them in every episode, but when they do have them, it's like a huge moment. Every time I watch it live, I do like the Leonardo DiCaprio, like what?
Yeah. Oh, perfect little soundbite there with it. Yeah. So the only thing I will say, especially because they don't do it as awkward in the rest of them, the little freeze framing ending, they had to cut to the shot. For all the other ones, it just ends on a shot of something. But in
Right.
this one, they had to first cut to because they came straight from a shock scene. Um, they like show a shot of like them looking down at the cake all shocked, and
Hmm.
then they do a dissolve back into like the comic book art, and then the creep's hand as he turns the page to our next story.
Yeah.
Um,
You have any closing thoughts with Father's Day or any closing notes?
Let me make sure I don't have any. No, we pretty much talked about it. My notes were old lady looks cool. Sylvia is in on it. Sylvia's Miss Danvers, young Ed Harris, and Shock's faces with lights in the background thing.
Okay. And now we get into
Act 2 of our recording session,
two.
which
Yeah.
ends this session. Thank you all for watching and goodbye. No, I'm kidding. No. But this ends Act 1. And I'm gonna put in fact, you know what? Why don't I put in what music should I put in for a little transitional during this episode?
Um, like just like a snippet of the soundtrack. So after a fun transition with the creep, um, we get a view of like message columns on a page where people ask questions to the creep and the creep responds. And
I actually really did like that. Dear Creep.
yeah, yeah, super fun, attention to detail. And we move right into our second story, the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill, which is, as I found out recently, a reference to a Johnny Cash song, the lonesome death of something that ends with Earl. Um,
The
I can't
Lonesome
remember the
Death
name of
of
it.
the Show. My Name is Earl with Jason Lee.
Um, and this story is special and it's pretty standout because
They just jump right in.
they jump right in. The action starts right away,
Yeah.
and we are treated with a full segment where the main character is the author, Stephen King.
Yeah. And he does an actually really good job.
Yeah, he hams it up. He's a cartoon character, and you know what? It does not bog the movie down. This performance makes this particular segment. I think it makes the whole thing. You know, if it
I
would have been
really think
anyone
so.
else, if they would have like had anyone else play it seriously, I feel like this one would have been maybe possibly boring, maybe too
Yeah.
sad. But with Stephen King's acting, I think it makes this story.
Absolutely.
Um, so a meteorite, like literally first shot, Stephen King's character, Jordy Verrill, is staring up into the sky, and a meteor crash lands on his farm. To which he says, "Holy old Jesus!" And he hops over. I don't know if I could call it running.
He
Yeah,
does a hop, a skip, and a jump.
yeah, he does a hop, skip, and a jump over to the crash site, and his first thought is to touch it. Fresh meteor, smoking, fire blazing ball crash lands, and he's like, "I'm gonna touch it." And he touches it with his two bare fingers. Of course, it's searing hot. He goes, "Ow!" And he puts his fingers in his mouth, and we'll find out that everything he's doing right now is a huge mistake. But he's like, "Oh, this is a meteorite. I wonder how much I could get for it in college." We get this crazy flashback where he brings the meteorite into the meteorite facility, and this weird scientist guy, he's like, "How does $15 sound?" And
No, 50. $50.
oh, 50. He says
Yeah.
50. Okay. He says, "How does $50 sound?" And Jordy Vero's like, No, nothing short of $200.
There you go.
75. 200. No,
75.
75. He goes, Jordy Verrill the Great don't accept no I forget what he says. He's like, "I
He
don't
says,
accept."
Anita Verrill didn't raise no idiots.
Yeah. So he's like, "Keep on counting." And we fade out of the this transition and or dream sequence rather. Not even dream sequence, daydream. This daydream sequence. And he's like, "Oh my gosh. Well, I can't do nothing with it when it's hot. I gotta cool it down." And he runs over to his faucet, and we start to see these huge, nasty white welts on his fingers.
That got that something about that like made it like that grossed me out like because he was like sucking on his hand because he like I mean obviously he, like burned his hand but like he was like sucking on his fingers because he burned his hand on by touching the meteor and then by the time he had those like welts on there I was like that's oh
Yeah, it's really nasty looking, and
yeah
he's sucking on it, which is still a huge mistake that he's doing. And he's filling up the bucket of water, and he goes over and he's like, with this the most Jim Carrey face, like dumps the whole thing onto the meteorite, and it cracks in half.
yeah
Oh, you done it now, Jordy Verrill, you lunkhead. And then he gets another dream, like a daydream, and instead of it being really, commemorative and celebratory, uh, there's rain clouds, and he looks like a schoolboy who just got in trouble going into the principal's office, and he's like, "I brought this meteor." What? $200? I wouldn't pay a 10 cents.
there you go
And uh, he covers it with his hat as as the as the sequence fades away. He's like, "Oh," and he covers it with his hat. He's so ashamed.
yeah
Poor guy. Um, and he goes, "You spell that kind of like BAD.
yeah I
You'll
thought
have
that
to
was a
try."
good little catchphrase that they gave him where he's like Vero Lux always in, and you spell that luck BAD.
Yeah, somehow Beryl in luck with this, and so he's like, maybe I can glue it together in the morning. And he moseys up to his house and he sets the bucket down and he sits in his chair and he turns on a boxing match. And turns out that this meteorite is causing the greenery to rapidly grow and it's starting to trail up to his house. And
Absolutely.
he's sucking on his fingers and it's this montage of him watching TV, the grass growing, sucking on his fingers, and all of a sudden he goes to take a swig of beer and he notices, oh my god, there's like this green muck on my fingertips and on this bottle, and he does more Jim Carrey faces, and he gets up, and what does he do after that?
Okay, he gets up and he goes to like call 911, which leads him to
Oh,
another dream sequence. Actually, again, uh, another clip that leads to a stylized shot that they liked so much that they once again put this. It's one of the, again, most iconic shots in the movie, in which he's in the doctor's office and the is like, those fingers have got to come right off. He
that's
pulls out a
right.
cleaver and he like slowly like runs his finger down it as like Stephen King looks shocked in the background. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's a
Yeah.
couple things I have to say about this.
Yeah, you got
First,
a couple notes?
yeah, I got a couple notes.
Okay.
So first off, Stephen King obviously is doing a great job in this performance. One thing that I will say though, so he's okay. So when he's on the couch, he's drinking this drink called Red Ripple,
Hmm.
which I've heard of, but I can't remember. I don't know if it's like soda or if it's alcohol. I know I know I should have just done like a Google search before I like made the note, but I just thought it was interesting. It's not like that big of a deal. I just thought it was kind of cool because I heard this drink. It's an old drink that I don't think they have it anymore, but it's like one of those drink Cracker Barrel, like one of those really old like miscellaneous drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. But yeah. Also, when he's in the doctor's office, for some reason, when they cut to one of the shots of just the doctor with the hand in the foreground, the hand is like a plastic, like mannequin hand.
Really?
Yeah. And you know what? I think I might have actually figured out the reason why by accident.
Oh,
So I just remembered the moss makeup and stuff that Stephen King used, he actually had like an allergic reaction to and
that's
had to
right.
take like medicine and like steroids and stuff. Um, I'm wondering if that was maybe when they first caught him having a reaction to it. Well, it would have had to have been because I just thought about it. That was like the first. That was like when he first started getting the reaction. I'm
Right.
wondering if after finding that out, then I guess he was like maybe actually in a doctor's office or something, trying to figure out what to do about that. And then they were like, "All right, we won't make you wear it in a scene where you're not gonna be in." So that's why they just let him have
And
like a
here's
plastic hand.
here's something else that I just thought of. Because you may be thinking like, oh, this whole mess would have probably been avoided if he had just went to the doctor. But here's the thing. First of all, the meteorite alien stuff would have kept growing, as we'll
Yeah, I was
see.
gonna say.
Second of all, if he would have went to the doctor, he would have eventually ended up in like FBI, like SCP containment breach, like hazard zone. And he
Yeah,
would have become the grass man anyway, and he would have had to live through it.
he's the grass man.
Yeah. SCP 123, the grass man.
Yeah,
But no, like he probably would have suffered a worse fate if he had went to the doctor.
you're right. No, you're
Because
right.
not even like, oh, I'm gonna get my fingers chopped off. Like, no, they would have been like, oh my god, call the president.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Um.
putting that in Creepshow land. Also the skeleton moves by itself in the doctor's office. The skeletal system.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
slowly sliding. The doctor's sliding around in the chair. The doctor's really funny. And so yeah, he has that daydream, and then he's like, "Oh, Jordy Verrill, you done?" And then he pauses. The whole room fills with this blue light for some reason. I never really quite got why. Because usually when the lights turn like drastic colors, it's like, oh, something's happening. Straight up, his whole house turns blue for like a second, and then it goes away. And then I think it's meant to represent him like realizing how much trouble he's in. But
Probably.
he covers his mouth, and he slowly moseys over to his bathroom mirror, and he opens his mouth, and there's like green on his tongue because he's been drinking the beer and stuff. So what do we cut to after that? We cut to, it says like a couple something later, and it shows like a shot of a plant. Oh, he's scratching his back on the door, isn't he? Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. He's like, but boy, does it itch. And then he
He's
goes
like,
down.
oh, Jordy don't it itch.
Whoa, 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 wait a minute. Did we skip the part where he's drinking the vodka?
No, I can't tell. Here,
I
go
I actually can't tell either. I've just been watching
to the
like
part.
yeah. Let me go
What
back
happens
a second.
after he looks at his tongue?
After he looks at his tongue. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, we haven't gotten to the vodka part yet. You were right. You were right.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
So he looks at his tongue. Scroll through. Yeah, he starts looking out at the house and like the yard, and it's all green. It's all green, and he's like,
yeah.
no, 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 no.
It's all green. It's completely covered. By the way, I always thought it was funny that like you can hear the TV like just on in the background, and then when the lady goes, "Do you understand that?" He's just like, "No,
Yeah,
no." I
little
thought that
call
was funny.
response.
Yeah, a little call response there, and he runs back in his house, and in a frantic panic, mixed with extreme thirst because he's turning into a plant, he mixes vodka in a pitcher of orange juice
I do actually
together,
think it's kind of cool. Like, well, I
and
guess not. I
he
guess not
stirs
cool,
it.
but
He
like,
stirs it with the vodka bottle, and then
yeah,
tosses the vodka bottle. First of all, if I ever have like later on, like when I'm 21, wink, wink. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. For all of our 4-year-olds listening.
For, if I ever have like an adult like Creepshow watch along, I'm going to make all of the alcohol mix combinations, and there's two. You know the other one from the crate. I
uh,
think you know. There's one in the crate. I think you
yeah.
know.
Sleeping
We'll get
pills.
to it. No, no, no. We'll get to it later. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get to it.
So
'Cause I'm gonna, I
this
think I
this is
probably
the
do know.
one.
I'll know when I see it.
Yeah, you'll know when you see it. This drink actually, to me, kind of sounds like it would be good, but then again, I
Oh,
don't know.
I do know it. It's actually one of my notes. It's one of my notes.
Really? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, so he slams that down. He's refreshed. Oh, that's better. And what happens after that?
Well, I was gonna say actually, uh, yeah, no. I thought it was kind of cool that he. Well, I guess it's not even like cool. It's like it's kind of like sweet in a sense. How kind of like a child he is
He is
in the
kind of like
sense
a kid.
of he needs the fact that he can't just drink straight vodka because yeah, okay, vodka doesn't taste good. Like that's kind of just like a known thing. Um,
Right.
but like the fact that he had to like have a whole pitcher of orange juice just for the because he doesn't have. It's not like he's trying to drink like a whole bottle of vodka. He has like maybe like a third of the bottle left. The fact that for just a third of a bottle of vodka, he had like pour the whole thing in orange juice and then be like, oh, and it's kind of like clutching it, like sitting on the recliner like a kid. I was a little sweet.
It is sweet.
But yeah,
And
we cut to him about to go take a little bath.
no, we skipped this. We skipped something.
Oh, did we? Hang on, let me rewind it.
He sits in his living room with the pitcher, and he says to himself, "I'm growing."
Oh yeah, that's when the when the God guy is on TV. He's like,
Yeah.
let the Lord is doing something to you.
Yeah, and then a green light starts shining on his head, and he just sits there and he's like, "I'm growing." We cut to this sort of weird montage with this really cool music of the plants that are now way bigger, and we cut to him waking up because the TV, I guess the TV woke him up, and he's like, "Oh, what a nightmare!" But he's covered in green still, and he's like, "Oh!" For some reason, it took him all the way to walking over to the mirror to realize.
Yeah, that he was still deformed.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he runs over to the bath. He starts to turn the water on, getting undressed. He goes, oh no, not there.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that's a good bit, especially because actually I can't remember if that was an actual Goosebumps bit or if they just made that a Goosebumps bit. There's this one Goosebump where this kid turns into a werewolf, and I think he does the exact same bit, but I could be wrong. I don't know. What was I gonna say though? Yeah, I'll be honest. There's a bit coming up. I think this one thing makes the story stupid. Other than that, the story's not bad. But I don't know. It's just there's one thing about this skit that because it doesn't make sense, it's not even bad, but just because it doesn't make any sense, I didn't like. And it's what's about to come up. We see Jordy's about to like take a bath and everything. He's like, "Oh man, I gotta do something about this." And then we see a figure phase in on the mirror, and it's Daddy Vero. And he's like,
Who is
"Daddy,"
played by the same who
as
plays
Nathan.
the doctor? No, not Nathan Grantham. The he played the doctor and the meteorologist
That's not
and
Nathan
the
Grantham.
no, the guy in the mirror is the doctor and meteorologist. He's the guy that shows up in all the different um uh clips, all the different uh daydreams.
Huh.
Nathan Grantham was played by this other actor who played in a different George A. Romero movie called Martin.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about that. Yeah, no, you're right. Um,
Um,
yeah, I'll be honest though, because this character has no input on the story, and even the advice that he gives Jordy ends up not taking anyway.
yeah,
I kind of find it not that necessary.
really, that's interesting. I guess so. Yeah, because this does kind of happen out of nowhere,
Yeah,
and
and it's the only time we see him. Even in the deleted scene, he still contributes basically nothing.
yeah, and I guess you could chalk it up to like, oh, this whole situation is making Jordy go crazy or whatever.
Uh,
But yeah, it's a cool little tidbit, I guess. I don't know, but he's basically like, it's the water that it wants, Jordy. You get in that
yeah,
tub, you might as well sign your death warrant.
I
And
I
he's like,
actually like that he does give him that bit of advice, and I think it's, I guess for anyone who's not picking up on the fact that it does like water,
yeah,
um, I guess maybe that would help them understand. But because again, the fact that Jordy doesn't take the advice, I I kind of wonder why the, because I almost wonder, because this was one of the only two Stephen King stories that appear in this movie that
yeah.
were already written by Stephen King.
The Weeds, which is what it was originally called, and the Crate, which comes up later.
Yeah. So what I'll say is I almost wonder, in the original draft of this, was the little mirage thing in here too?
The Mirage.
Yeah, the little mirage of his dad. Because like
Oh, I don't know because I haven't read the original Weed story. Oh
yeah.
wait, no, yes I have, and I do not think this whole dad bit is in it at all.
Then why, like, because you see what I mean? Like, I don't mind, like, okay, we have to tell the audience somehow, like, oh, the water. Yeah, that's fine. But like, I did find the sort of kind of out of nowhere appearance, especially again because he doesn't take the advice, and the story as compared to what we'll see later on, longer stories doesn't run for enough time where I'm like, oh, we need let's get some exposition in here. I think this is the
Yeah,
shortest story in the uh,
I think so too. This
movie,
story
actually.
and the last story I think are the shortest.
Yeah. Other than that, the first one was 20 minutes. Um, yeah, and this one is about to end at the point where I'm at now, and it's only been running for about 15 minutes.
Um, so either because, well, not to Jordy, but the plants in Jordy's vision, the plants make Jordy see this bathtub as this glowing, sparkling, just splendor, and he can't resist it. He face plants into the bathtub,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, that's better." Oh, and then we fade to daylight, and the entire house is a jungle. Everything is covered, and we're seeing different shots of the house covered, and then we cut to a shot, and all of a sudden the green floor starts to move, and we realize it's the completely grass covered body of Jordy Verrill, and he's now Sesame Street Grinch mode.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, Sesame Street Grinch? You mean
I don't
Oscar the
know.
Grouch?
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Oscar the Grouch. He looks like Oscar the Grouch in a scary way because he does have a face. He doesn't have like fingers. Like he doesn't have like it's just the shape of a person made of moss.
It's a ghillie suit. They ghillie suited him.
It's a ghillie suit, and he he's just on the floor, and he's just like, oh, in this really scary like voice too. This really
Yeah,
weird.
that I'll be honest, the voice that got me like that was probably this whole ending scene here is one of like the like again, it's that rather than I guess some of the other stories where like, oh, it starts bad, but then it kind of gets a little ironic towards the end. This is one that honestly is just like really just a creepy ending. So
Yeah.
he pulls a shotgun to himself and he's like, "Oh, my Vera luck. Please let it be good just this once. Just this once." And then he blows his grassy head off.
Mm-hmm. And his luck was in, the deed was done, and we hear on a radio the this man say, oh, farmers, you're in luck. You're getting a lot of growth, and there's a lot of rain coming your way, and the town's going to turn so green and so fast it'll be almost miraculous. And we get this shot of just the plant growing alongside this roadside down into like the town, and and there's a road sign that says Castle Rock, which I thought was a cool reference. And
Oh yeah, I
this,
love that show with the puppets.
I
Oh, that's
guess so.
Fraggle Rock. That's Fraggle Rock.
That's
No,
Fraggle Rock. Yeah,
yeah,
no, Castle Rock is a Stephen King uh book, I think,
yeah,
or it's a place.
yeah.
Anyways,
it's on the IMDb trivia. It's like a place.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
But this ending is genuinely a very somber and creepy like ending.
Oh my gosh! Imagine. I just imagine how much creepier it would be. Okay, so you know how like in the Fallout games you see like, oh, these are how these people looked like right when the apocalypse happened. Can you
Yeah.
imagine they track down patient zero of like this little plant outbreak? They go to Jordy Verrill's house and just find his headless, like with the shotgun and everything, like the like headless corpse.
Dude,
That's
that's that'd be a creepy scene too, like when they track that. And it's funny you bring that up. They have a scene just like how you described in one of the Creepshow episodes. There's this episode called The Scarecrow,
hmm,
and the creator of the scarecrow somehow brought it to life, and it started killing people, and he felt bad, and he shot himself. The boy goes to his cabin and discovers his like caved in body, which is super reminiscent of Jordy Verrill, sitting up against a wall in the basement as he's getting
Mm.
chased by the scarecrow. So it's basically like the same thing as you described, and it is a very eerie scene. But
Yeah.
yeah, like that'd be really creepy, like seeing them go back to the Jordy Verrill house, Jordy Verrill house, and yeah, seeing the moss corpse, and yeah, that's cool. I never thought of that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, he basically like blew his brains out with like the grass, everything. Yeah, it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, very cool ending. Very spooky. Dun dun dun. And now we do this really cool transition with some really like hard hitting music.
The Gremlins
Leaves
theme, no.
No, wait,
Yeah,
the grass is growing down the street, and it's that monologue that the guy at the end of the Gremlins movie he makes.
that
He's like,
that was my
check
favorite part.
check your backyard. There
Yeah,
might just
because
be
there might
grass
be a
there.
goblin. Yeah,
You better check your pavement. There just might be weeds growing under there. Wow, 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 wow,
I
wow.
love that with the little like violin in the back.
Okay, anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Time for another
we
transition. This
yeah,
only took us how long to talk about?
28 minutes.
Oh
Only took
yeah,
28
see,
minutes
so
to
not
talk
too bad.
about. We blew by it. Now we get to my
Whoa,
favorite
whoa, whoa,
segment.
whoa, whoa! Don't spoil the surprise. We're Act 3.
Ooh. But I like the ocean in general. Like I like
Oh
nautical
yeah.
like time, beach time, ocean, sea creatures, not big ones, just, fish and stuff.
Mhm.
Um that's all great to me. So this is my personal favorite story. So much, in fact, that when I bought the soundtrack of Creepshow on vinyl, I picked the because you could actually get colored vinyl discs that weren't just black. I picked the one that was decorated specifically for this story. It's a mix. It's a teal ocean color with splotches of dark blue and light green to like look like seaweed and stuff. It's a
Mhm.
really cool record. I have to show you sometime.
Yeah, you have to show me sometime.
Yeah,
Um,
but
yeah.
it's this is my personal favorite story. Um,
I'll be honest, cast wise, this is also probably my favorite story.
yeah.
Um, other than that though, I'd probably have to say the crate is my favorite. But I'll tell you this.
Ooh.
I'll tell you what. Um, I really like this part of the movie. Only problem is the second half of the scene when he's like on his way back to his little cabin and so forth. I can't. That's not a soundtrack.
Are you
People.
talking about the opera singer, or are
No,
you
no.
talking
We'll
about
get
that?
to it. We'll get to it.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it. All right. Enough
Okay.
time wasting. This is well. Here, I'll read the little the creeps, the little
Oh, you
caption.
forgot to read for the second one.
I don't think that one had one, or did it? I think that one was just like the letters
If
from the
it did
creep.
have one, you couldn't read it.
Oh, did it? Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong though.
Okay. Hello again, kiddies. My last story was so grueling I thought I'd take a vacation. A little trip to the seashore. Of course, this reminds me of another awful anecdote, but the tide's coming in, so I'd better get started. I call this one Something to Tide You Over.
Yeah, this is a this is a classic like EC comic story with a sort of modern twist to it, and I just think it's perfect. So we begin this story inside Ted Danson, who plays a character called Harry. Um, We start in his really awesome apartment. I love Ted Danson's apartment in this movie. That white fur rug underneath that glass like table. He's sleeping on the couch for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe he had a hangover. Um, I just love this apartment place that he has here. It's fantastic. Or if it's his house, I don't know. But he's getting a like I'm coming. Doesn't move.
Yeah,
Boom, boom,
exactly.
boom, boom. Knocks on the door. All right, I said I'm coming. Then he finally gets to get up and he moseys over. And as soon as he opens the door, we get Leslie Nielsen. Uh, he immediately like jolts the
But
and
wait a minute,
the
wait a
chain
minute.
is there.
That's one of my favorite. Like, there's something so menacing about the way that he does it with the straight face. That's another
Yeah.
one that made its way onto the little main Blu-ray main menu thing and that little clip preview thing.
Oh,
I don't know
really?
why, but that with the like little Creepshow theme in the background just like gets me. It's so like it's not even like, oh, it's so scary when he does it. No, it's just so like it reminds me of like any like drama movie.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
where it's
menacing.
like, oh, I've got you now, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen's character in this, because Leslie Nielsen from Airplane and Naked Gun and stuff, and he's you know him more for his comedic movies, but he displays his serious chops in this movie. He does a fantastic job. I love Leslie Nielsen in this role. Because he has comedic bits and he plays it very charismatically, but right off the bat, as soon as he tries to open the door, he shoves it open and the chain is there, so the door jolts and it doesn't open all the way. And he, Leslie Nielsen's character, his name is Richard. He sticks his foot in between the door, and Harry's like, "I bench press something something pounds. You better get
300,
your foot
300 pounds.
300. I bench press 300 pounds. You better get your door out from there, or you're gonna lose it." And Richard's like, "Okay, don't threaten me, pretty boy."
Yeah. um
He's like,
yeah,
"You better
no.
open your door because I got something to tell you."
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I was actually gonna say, but you were saying earlier about like him displaying his serious chops in this. So I was actually watching a little like mini documentary somebody made about Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
So the best way to describe him both in comedy roles and just in like regular life, I guess, he does the like it's not even deadpan. It's just like there's an episode of Seinfeld where there's this like librarian and he's so serious while describing like silly things that's what makes it funny. Leslie Nielsen, even in his comedy movies, it's because he's being serious that it makes it funny that he's like trying to do like silly stuff. For example, in my Seinfeld example, the guy's like, "You think this is a joke, Seinfeld? If I open up a book, some poor college kid is opening it up, looking to finish his essay by morning, and all of a sudden he's greeted with PPs and wee wees drawn all over the book." It's just that. It's too good. Um,
PPs and wee wees.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, please continue.
Um. So yeah, he's like, "You better open your door right now. We got to talk." And we cut to this weird transition. It goes bow, and Harry. We just cut to Harry, just kind of like, "Okay, you found out. Whoop de
Yep.
doo." And I wish we would have seen more of their dialogue because it's kind of hard to follow up exactly what's going on in this first scene right off the bat.
Yeah, if you don't know, like I guess you eventually like find out, but if you don't know, you have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Leslie Nielsen had this girlfriend, and hunk stud Harry here decided to have a affair with Leslie Nielsen's girlfriend, and Leslie Nielsen is a very rich and powerful TV executive. And Mr. Leslie Nielsen is not happy about this. So, you know, forget. Okay, Harry's line, like he sounds like a high schooler. Like when like he says, "Okay, you found out, but me and Becky were gonna sit you down and tell you about it one of these days." Really? No, you weren't.
Yeah, Leslie
Who,
Nielsen is over
who,
here, freaking old enough to be Ted Dance's father.
yeah, like who cheats and then like sits the other person down? Is like, okay, hey, basically, uh, we are together and you two are not anymore.
Yeah.
Take the L.
Na 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 na.
So, Leslie Nielsen just kind of ignores you know, his words, and he's like, "Man, you gotta fix your TV setup here. I'm a TV executive. I know all about TVs. I'm a TV
Yeah.
guy. Can't you tell I like TVs?" And
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't actually know why they did it before, but until you just said, they really like are like. I'll be honest. Again, like it kind of goes into that like leaning into horror tropes type thing, where the character only has one character because the stories are so short that they
yeah,
need to like force the character trait on a person. So immediately freaking, oh, that's a TV. I love TV. I watch TV all the time. You know what I like? TV. Hey, you know what I had for breakfast this morning? TV. It's like, all right, we get it. You're a TV executive.
so he's talking about like the HD quality picture. He's bent over messing with like the settings. And Ted Danson's character is like, "I've had enough." And he comes over and he's like, "Get out of my TV. Tell me what's going on right now."
Get out of my TV, even though my Blu-ray player doesn't work and it's an Xbox plug and play.
No, yeah. Leslie Nielsen's bent over. "Oh, I see you got Dogma on Blu-ray. How'd you get that?"
Yeah.
Um, so he's like, "What are you doing here?" Right? Like, what is it? And he's like, what is he? Are you at this scene? What are they talking about? Like pulls him away from the TV.
He says that if he wants to see his girlfriend again, then by 11 a.m. it's going to be too late. So they need to leave now.
Oh, and then he says, "I want you to hear something," and he gets this little voice box recorder thing, sets it on the top of the rim of the cup, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's this audio clip of Becky, the girlfriend, like crying for help. And he's like, "Oh, I had to cut it off there. I couldn't bear to listen anymore." So they get into Leslie Nielsen's Jeep and they drive down to the beach, and he's like, "Oh, we're at the top of the sand hill. Oh, there's a sand pile with a shovel." And Harry's like, "Is that?" And he's like, "It could be." And Mr. Dashing Hero Harry runs down the hill with this really big orchestral swell of music.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll be honest. I didn't have a note about it, but I did. I suddenly made a note, like a mental note when I'm running through the scene right now. Um, I don't know what that like all of a sudden random like 1960s movie
yeah,
like dramatic action increases.
yeah. Freaking dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun. And he gets over to the what seemingly he thinks is his girlfriend Becky buried to death, but it's a pre-dug hole in the sand, and Leslie Nielsen's character Richard has already pulled out a gun from underneath his like pant leg on his, and he's like, uh, "Get in that hole." Well, he doesn't have the gun out yet, but Harry gets there and he's like, I don't know what kind of joke you're playing, man. And he gets the shovel out to try to hit, to be threatening. But Leslie Nielsen's already got the gun pulled out. And then Harry just resorts to this wimp, like, all right, this has gone far enough.
Yeah, as if he's gonna take charge, even though he's getting a gun pointed at him.
Exactly. And Harry is basically like, no, I have a gun, naked gun. And
I was gonna save that bit for later, but I guess we can just ruin. No, I'm kidding.
what does he say at this part? After he's like, no, 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 no. After he's like, this is gone far enough.
Well, okay, when he gets started by the gun, he's like, all right, just, let's just calm down here. Let's just calm down. And then he's like, well, I'm very protective over what's mine, Harry, and I am going to show you this hole I have here. Notice how the water just creeps in.
Oh yeah. He talked about the water creeping in, which, by the way, on the DVD copy, you can't see the water in the bottom of the hole because of the quality, but on the Blu-ray you can. So whenever he was like, "Notice how the water creeps in," I'm like, "What water?"
Yeah.
No, the quality was so
But
bad
there's
he can't
water
even see it.
droplets. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's
That's just some
water.
dirt on the screen.
There's water creeping in at the bottom of the hole, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Notice how the water creeps in," and he's like jumping in that hole, and there's some creepy Creepshow piano music, and he's like, "Nah," and he's like, "Jump into the hole, or I'm gonna shoot you." And he's like, he starts to doesn't he start to help at this part?
He starts to yell help, and then he's like, hey, no one's going to hear you. This is my own private island.
And he
He's
starts
being
screaming with
very
him. He goes,
discreet.
"Help!" He starts screaming with him.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like, "No one's gonna hear anything." And then he tilts his gun. He shoots to the side, and he's like, "Now jump in the hole." And once you kneel down, start pulling the sand in the hole. And Harry does as he's told, like a good boy. Little reminiscent of the lighthouse, which we might talk about one day.
For sure, yeah.
To Leslie Nielsen, patting the area around Leslie Nielsen's head, and Leslie
Leslie
Nielsen finished the
Nielsen
job.
patting the area around Leslie Nielsen's head?
I'm so sorry. Leslie Nielsen with the shovels, patting and adding finishing touches to Ted Danson's head, which is now buried up to his neck in sand. And these scenes are actually pretty funny. Like Leslie Nielsen, like coming down, he's like, "Yeah, try to move. You can't."
Now, here's the thing. I'll be honest. There's no way. By the time sand gets wet, you should be able to move pretty freely. Like, yeah, you're vertical. We have to try this. We
Well,
have to try
okay.
this in real life to find out.
Have you ever been buried up to your neck in sand? Because I have. I
Never
did it.
buried while standing up to my neck in sand.
I have, and I can tell you, he's right. You really can't move unless you try really, really hard for a really long, long time.
Oh wow! So this was legit.
Yeah, it's legit. Because when I went to Orange Beach last summer, for a photo bit, I buried myself up to my neck in sand. Just to be like, "Oh, creep show." And he's right. When you're in there, you feel like you're in like concrete cement. Like you feel like Han Solo in carbonite. Like it's so hard to move. Um so that's happening. Leslie Nielsen's like, I can make Harry all gone. And he's like, "Oh no, 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 no. I won't do that. Let me smack some sand off your face." Does he get in his Jeep at this point to go grab something and the crab scene happens?
Yes, and I'll say this to be 100% honest. Initially, I had a problem with that crab scene because it looked like he just literally like kicked a crab and
I knew
just
you were
started
gonna say this. Somebody
Yeah.
get the animal rights activists over here.
No, because I feel bad only because movies have to do that now. That little freaking no animals were harmed. At first, I'm like, oh, why do they have to like obviously? But no, freaking. But no, he didn't actually. I run it back. I ran it back in like slower speed. No, he kind of does because there'd be no reason for him to literally just kick a crab.
He steps on it.
Yeah. No,
No.
no. So
So
basically, he like
basically, yeah.
kicks the sand the crab is standing on.
Yeah. So Richard went to go grab some TV and cords, and Harry somehow fell asleep. And when he wakes up, there's this really huge, nasty crab right in his face, and he's like, oh, get it out of here, Richard!
Oh,
Oh, freaking get out!
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then Richard finally pulls up in his big Jeep, and he's like, "Ah, you found a friend, Harry." Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And he's like, "Richard, get it out of here, please." And Richard's like, "Oh no, he's just getting revenge because think of how many times you've eaten his fellow comrades at restaurants, all and served with Parmesan." And he's like, "Oh, nasty crab, get out of here!" And like you said, he kicks the sand underneath the crab, which makes the crab kind of.
The crab goes flying.
Yeah, the crab gets blasted in the scene. So he sets up a TV monitor, and he's like, "Hey, showtime!" That's his like kind of catchphrase, I guess.
Call back to our Beetlejuice episode.
Oh, it's showtime. Yeah, exactly. And on the television is Harry's girlfriend. Well, Harry and Richard's girlfriend at
On
this
an
point.
episode of Sesame Street.
Remember this, Harry? Yeah, I actually do.
Speaking of
It's
which, remember when we got to meet Big Bird Dane?
oh yeah, no, he's actually he's yeah.
Yeah, that's the end of that bit.
Anyways, on the television is Harry's girlfriend Becky, who is also in the same predicament yet worse off. As Leslie Nielsen says, she lost a corn toss. A corn toss. She lost a throws a cob at the ocean. No, he basically says, "Oh, she lost a coin toss, and I had to bury her further down the beach, and and whatever." And she's buried up to her neck in sand too, but the water is already like she's already getting blasted by water. And, she's there freaking out, like Harry, ooh, Harry.
I'll be honest, I had a problem with the scenes where it cut to Becky.
Really?
Yeah, my problem was that, okay, first of all, why? Well, actually, okay. First and foremost, why is it in black and white like freaking Alfred Hitchcock? There is
That's
no
the
way you
problem.
set up a JVC Handycam and it's coming in black and no, because it's black and white, but it's perfect. Okay, let's gonna once I won't say the second half of my gripe because I just realized why it wouldn't have made sense. I was gonna say why is it in such high quality? Well, no, I guess it still applies. Why is it in such high quality? It's in the same quality as the movie, and the movie, yeah, has been upscaled, but it wouldn't have upscaled the footage of what's supposed to be worse quality than the movie itself.
Can I tell you why?
Tell me.
It's because they matte inserted the footage over top of the actual TV as if it wasn't.
Okay, now see
Does
that
that make
works
sense?
now, but in 1982, because everyone who owned a home video camera, because okay, yeah, TV executive, but he did not set up a TV camera on a beach. He set up a like generic. In fact, let's see
Camcorder.
in the deleted scene. In the deleted scene, he's like, "Oh, here's this little camcorder, Nintendo 3DS camera."
Yeah, he sets that up too, and of course Harry's like, oh, what kind of sick prank is this?
And
But
then the
Harry doesn't
Impractical
know.
Jokers come
What Harry doesn't know.
out. What Harry doesn't know.
Um, so yeah, she's on the television, and Harry's like, "This is fake. This is some kind of special effects trick." And he's like, "Oh, if you look behind you, oh wait, I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah,
Let me assure you, the VCR is on play, or no, it's on record, not
yeah, it's on
play.
record.
It's on record." So he's like, "I'm gonna save this stuff for later." And
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. My other thing was that uh okay, so there are definitely a bunch of like parts of this bit where we cut back to Becky on the little TV and she's definitely leaning into the water.
this is true. Yeah,
Yeah, like there are so many. It is not that. It doesn't even really get her until like really, really getting in there. There are so many times when the tide fluctuates and you can tell because she's literally like craning her head over to the side when she
what?
could just be leaning her head back and be freaking fine.
Yeah, you're right.
Small nitpick though. It's not that big of a deal. I actually really like this story.
Yeah, and so after that whole realization, um, Leslie Nielsen looks out into the ocean and he's like, "Oh, the water, it's getting
She
higher. The
literally
tide's
is
coming
laying
in."
down in it right now. I'm watching it live. Her head is in. She's like, and then just like kissing the water, trying to pretend.
I know exactly what part you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're
Don't get
so
me
right
wrong
about that. She
though.
is kissing the water.
Don't get me wrong though. Good on them when they do that little. Oh, well, no, I guess it wouldn't be. Yeah. Now I was gonna say, right after that, the monitor that Harry's looking at Becky's demise in, they
Yeah.
put in the little like, oh, it like conks out. It gets like, oh,
Well, no, I haven't got to that part yet.
oh yeah, I'll let you get to
Well, I kind of have. I started to talk about it. Basically, Leslie Nielsen's like, "Oh, the water's rising. I think I'm gonna go ahead and like go. You have fun at the
that.
beach."
Yeah.
He's like,
I'll
"Come
see it.
back." Somehow he has an extension cord long enough to wheel it like all the way back to his like house.
Oh
But
no. So here's what I thought was weird. So I think I can't remember if yeah, no, it wasn't the deleted scene. I think it's in the deleted scenes that we see him at first go home, get the extension cord, and then bring it out there.
oh, so
But
we see what he was doing in between Harry falling asleep and hanging out with a crab.
yeah, here's the thing though. Why don't we see that same cord trail? Because it takes the same trail to go there and back. Why don't we see that trail when he drives back?
Hmm. It's an 80s movie.
Yeah, they didn't have extension cords. It's all Bluetooth connection. No. What was I gonna say? I was gonna some. I was. Oh, okay, yeah. So, yeah, but yeah, no. Before we get to that, the TV conks out and everything, and yeah, we do see that little. They definitely Matt inserted it because we see their little effect that they put on it of the TV like going out with a little like vignette. That's
Yeah, the
all,
friggin'
folks. Yeah,
the HBO Max.
yeah,
Well, not
exactly.
HBO Max. Sorry, HBO the channel.
Yeah, the little.
Yeah. And this part actually, there's very few movies that like left me with a just like a hopeless despair feeling in my stomach. It was like Coraline that did that to me at one scene. This is one of those scenes where it's like, oh my God, what do you do? Like the part where he drives away and he's like, come back, Richard. And then he looks at the TV and Becky's like, oh, Harry. Ted Danson gives that face like, oh,
I'll be
like
honest.
I'm making it sound funny, but like, it's actually really sad to watch.
It's sad, but I'd be more scared at just like I'll be honest, I was thinking the whole time during this movie, okay, how did they actually do all of this? Because there was at one point there was
How
one
did they
part
bury them?
yeah. Because
Okay,
that tide really was coming in.
so what they did, they dug a big hole, like a big, like sort of more roomy hole, and Ted Danson stood in it, and then they placed a wood board with a head cut out of it over the hole, and then put sand on top of it.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah,
he's just
that makes sense.
standing there, but it looks like he's buried.
Yeah.
And the tide hitting his face on the close-up Ted Danson, it's this what they called a wave machine. It
Hmm.
was basically like this giant like staircase that would fill up with water, and then they would release it, and the water would just go over his head.
Yeah. I was
But
actually gonna say I do know because we're about to get a scene. Um, we see the waves splashing over Harry. We see Leslie Nielsen watching, and then finally we see the waves come over Harry, and he is underwater at this point. I
oh,
actually know the story behind this one. So
me
they
me
just
too. Go ahead and tell it though, because it's actually pretty good.
okay. Wait. What'd you say? Sorry, it cut out. Did you say?
Oh, I said I know the story too, but go ahead and tell it because it's really good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, listener. I'll cut that out. No, I won't. But no. So basically, um, yeah, no. So what I heard was actually this was in that video. The what do you have at a creep show? Um, so he had like a tank. He had like a glass like water tank around him. It's probably one of the.
Mhm.
It's honestly it made for one of the coolest shots in the movie.
It
Him
is a
with
really
like
fantastic shot.
the like wild eyed like looking around under the water.
Yeah, the
Because
red
I don't know
light
about
behind
you.
him.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about you. I can't do that. I
Look around
can't.
underwater.
I can't look underwater without goggles.
Huh. That's interesting.
I
I
can't because
can.
I'm debris. I'm so worried about like some debris, some miscellaneous, like spare, like 1 by 1 millimeter patch of seaweed is gonna get over my pupil and go crazy. Um, but no, yeah. So basically, they had him in this tank, and should an emergency happen, George A. Romero was like just off screen
No,
with a sledgehammer.
no, no, not George A. Romero.
Who? Are
Tom
you gonna jump
Savini.
in?
Tom
Oh,
Savini.
Tom Savini. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Tom Savini was holding the sledgehammer.
I all I knew was that I knew for sure there was a sledgehammer. I didn't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, basically,
yeah, don't worry, listen, we'll let.
yeah. No, because they put his head in this giant tank, filled it with sand, seaweed, filled it with water. They would give him like scuba air, like every once in a
Yeah,
while. They would like film the scene, but like you said, if something were to go wrong, Tom Savini was just off screen with a sledgehammer, ready to smash the tank if anything were to go wrong.
yeah,
Which I feel like if something because I feel like you're good if you have a scuba man with like the air like, oh, here you go, open your mouth. Like I feel like you're good. But it's like I'm glad that like Tom Savini was like, oh, like let me just in case. Like
yeah. Just in
that's
case,
good.
let me
That's
slam some broken glass in your eyes. You'll be okay.
that's right. Jaws 3D.
Yeah.
Ah, it's coming to us very slowly.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. We'll get
I
to
was
that
actually gonna
later.
say, what Jaws 3D?
Yeah, we'll do that sometime.
Wait, is that an actual movie?
Yeah,
I
there's
thought that
four
was
Jaws
just the
movies.
bit from I thought that was just the. I think you're doing the bit from Back to the Future too, where
No.
it comes from Marty like really slowly, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And then like,
Oh, so you don't know what scene I was just talking about. Okay, well we'll get
no.
to it.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get to it.
We'll do it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have. Oh, by the way, folks, get ready because Jaws is our next. No, no, it's not. But it's on the list. It's on the list.
Oh, next is Jaws.
Yeah, it's Jaws. Um, but yeah, no. Also, one thing I actually forgot to mention. One of my favorite soundtrack moments from this movie, which I've already told you about this name,
Yeah.
comes in the scene where he's driving home the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bow, bow, bow. That part.
yeah, and it's not in the soundtrack, but it's like a full track. It plays for like 3 minutes.
That's oh wait, yeah, you're actually right because now I haven't played the record in a while, but on my vinyl record, I don't think that theme is on it.
Exactly. What the frick is that? I hate when movies do that. They'll have some like, oh no, it's just miscellaneous, so we didn't add it. Why not? Get out.
Come on, it was a good bit.
Yeah. There's a song. Actually, I looked so deeply into this. I found a Reddit conversation that had the same thing. Like they were looking for the same song. So
Really?
in the movie UHF, there's this one like miscellaneous part that only plays for like 20 seconds. And it's like do 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 wee wow wow wow, and it's just like random kitschy like elevator music, and everyone's like, oh, this is pretty funny, can I find like a recording of this without like the like talking in the background? And they're like, no. Yeah, but
Oh no, that was actually taken from a drunk cast party.
yeah. Drunk cat. Weird Al was actually yeah. Anyway, back to the movie.
Yeah.
The next 15 minutes talking about UHF. But yeah, feel free. Jump right back in first, Dane.
So yeah, after we see Ted Danson in his final moments, uh, we cut to Leslie Nielsen decided to take a stroll to see the sort of aftermath of his craft. And he's out there, the wind is blowing his pant legs all around, and he picks up the wire and he's like, oh, the wire snapped. My TV's missing. Well, I think he finds the TV. I can't remember. And he gets what he needs, but he's basically like, oh, this cord, it's like snap. What happened? And he's like, you know what? The tide pulled him out. He's not here and he's not on the beach. He's in the, which is where I want him to be. So yeah. And then actually, this part I actually never heard quite well as a kid. And I like recently I had the volume just up enough where I was able to hear it. He's on the beach and he picks up this blue bucket and he drops it. And you can hear Ted Danson say, Richard, like off in the
Oh yeah,
distance. And
I
he
was
like
actually
looked
gonna
over,
say. I was
like,
actually gonna say.
what do you mean?
I never understood why did. Oh, I'm about to give away a jump scare by accident.
Oh,
Did you hear
okay.
it? Did you hear
I
it?
think I did hear it. Was it the door?
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Okay, okay.
No. What I was gonna say, uh, was yeah, no. So I'll be honest, that confused me at first.
Hmm.
When he's like, oh, the tide pulled him out. You buried him up to his head. Why wouldn't he just be like so covered in sand? What are you scouring the whole beach? Oh, I know exactly where I put him. All of your stuff is gone from the tide. What makes you think that Ted Danson, like, I know by that logic, by the logic of, oh, all the other stuff is gone, but like your TV was still there, and sure, the cord is broken. What does that have to do with Ted Danson? By the logic of like just logic, like real life, he would still be in there, but just covered in sand.
Yeah. This part was a little like logically confusing to me. But
Yeah.
anywho, Richard hears the whisper of Ted Danson and he's like, oh, and then we get this really weird transition with some opera singer for some reason. And we cut to nighttime and Richard is going around his house. He's fiddling about. I think he makes himself a. Oh no, that's before. Never mind. Um,
I
he's
think he
getting
buries Ted Danson or something.
no. He's getting ready to shower, and there's this funny line where he's like taking off his necklace, and he's like, "Don't worry, they've all gone." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. He tried his hand at a little comedy.
Yeah. And at some point in the house, oh yeah, no, I sorry, he's on his bed and he's like, "Where did my maid put my tapes? I'm gonna kill her." And then you hear it again, the whisper, "Richard," and he's like, "What? What was that?" And he goes over the curtain and he's looking outside and there's nothing there. And he's like, whatever. Shrugs his shoulders like a cartoon character, walks off, and we see these two shadows creeping up to the window and like the silhouette of these like two figures. And then Leslie Nielsen's like, let's go take a shower. They've all gone blah blah blah. Don't worry about it. And I have a gripe with this, but I'll get to that after we get to a certain scene.
That sounds
So
yeah. I think I might know what your gripe is.
so we see these bits and pieces of these two figures walking through the house, leaving like seaweed everywhere, scaring the fish, um, messing with the painting, silhouettes everywhere. Also, we see silhouettes and stuff, but they also show the security camera of the house, and you can't see the figures on the camera. You just see this fog.
That's right. Yeah. So we finally got like I guess for this movie a legitimate paranormal element that's
That's
not
right.
just yeah.
It's not the zombies. Um, so Leslie Nielsen's like, okay, there's definitely something going on. Let me go check fully nude. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets out of his shower and he puts on his robe. He's like, okay, let me grab my gun. Which at this point, if you have, because this is like the really in your face, like, oh, see it. On his dresser is the ashtray from Father's Day. And I don't know if we made a point to mention this before, but the ashtray from Father's Day actually appears in every episode in the rest of the movie, like somewhere in the background.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, little Easter egg that we forgot to mention.
Yeah.
Um, I will say this though. Uh, when he says Richard both times, I'll be honest. For me, like it didn't even like bring this. It didn't even bring the story down for me. It just seemed too like like it's kind of like when all the ghosts are like Scrooge and they're like wrapped in
Yeah,
chains and a Christmas Carol.
definitely. This story particularly is unconventional at the end.
Yeah.
Then it turns into like, oh, got him, goosebumps.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Okay, we're about to get to a part that's literally like the most horrifying imagery in this scene is on par with Goosebump. This could have been this whole story could have been a Goosebump minus the adultery.
yeah. So he grabs a gun and he's like going nuts at this point. He's like, okay, Harry, you better get out of here. I have a gun. Get out of
Oh
here.
yeah, what's with the Daisy Derringer that he's threatening people with? He's got this tiny like freaking gun, not even a revolver. It's just like a Nerf jolt.
He's like, get out of here, Westworth. His last name is Westworth or something. I don't know. And he gets up to the door and there's like a slight pause and he opens the door and it's the two bloated waterlogged seaweed covered corpses, well not corpses because they're alive, but like zombified spirit venging ghost creatures is what I all I can think to call them,
And
of
these
Harry and
monsters
Becky.
look like they could have been a Goosebump cover. They're just
Yes,
geniusly
but
like
at the
so
same
cartoony.
time, like they look like Scooby Doo, but at the same time, they look like realistic enough that this was actually the scariest thing to me as a kid. I couldn't watch this part when I was little. I skipped this scene every time.
To be honest, I can kind of see why. It's not like giving me the creeps. Don't get me wrong. I think weirdly enough, I guess just because it's such a sensory overload, the little flashback scene and even the lead scene
Yeah.
from Father's Day. But I can see how, without context as a kid, not knowing not only these actors, but also like sort of the nature of something like Creepshow, which isn't really supposed to be like scary, scary. I can see how this could have been scary, scary to you as a kid.
Yeah, because like you
They're gross. They're gross
they're
looking.
gross, and the way they sound terrifying. They have this bubbly talk to them, and as a kid, like, because my first time watching, you only see their silhouettes walking through the hall, so it's like, to me, I thought like, oh, they survived. They're just gonna show up, with seaweed on them. Then that freaking door opens, and we get that, like, just the way that their eyes, when Becky's eyes are closed, the way Harry's eyes in particular, the way Becky looks, it's just it just turned my stomach as a kid. And even today, it's a scary sight to me. It's like they're one of the creepiest moments out of this. Um, but here's my gripe. You ready for my gripe with my favorite story?
Yeah, you gripe with your favorite story.
Yeah. In my personal opinion, story wise, they shouldn't have shown Harry and Becky walking around his house.
Why not?
Because think of how much cooler that jump scare at the door would have been if he heard Richard and was like, "Oh, he's just going crazy." We watch him shower, and like they play it off like he's losing his mind, but then when he opens the door, they're right there. Think of how much scarier that jump scare would have been.
Oh, absolutely. No,
You
to be
already know they're at the door because you watch them walk up to it.
this leads them to like eventually what's going to be like, because they don't. Oh, I guess they do get one of those scenes in here, but we get one of the best like face pulls in this movie because once we see him turn around and like react to the zombies, he does this like manic laugh slash like scream, and like the face that he does, that like scared face, really really works for me for some reason. In fact,
Really?
I think that's in, yeah, it's another Blu-ray menu featurette one.
Hmm. That manic laugh with the wave background, and they're basically
No,
as
no,
they're
no. It's
approaching
that
him.
one. That one's a little after. This is the first one where it's still got like the generic LED green light.
Oh, so you mean when they're first approaching and he's doing his like scared face?
Yeah. Oh yeah, but
No,
I just got the wave one.
because first of all, he opens the door and he's like, "Oh crap!" But then he's like, "Wait a minute, I have a gun," and he pulls it out, looking like holds up his
Yeah,
gun and he
he is so
fires.
smug, even though it doesn't work.
He's so smug in this part. He fires like two shots, realizes they're not dying, and then he starts wetting himself.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god!" Then he like fires all his bullets. Then he resorts to throwing the gun, and they're
Oh
like,
no no no! I like how he shoots him. He shoots both of them, and then when he's about to throw the gun, they cut it because obviously you can't throw the gun at them. They're both like two genuine actors. It's not like an insert monster movie here where it's like, all right, you're gonna go ahead and throw this boulder at him.
right. No, so also as Harry and Becky are approaching Leslie Nielsen, they're quoting things that he said to like Harry, like,
As long
"It's
as you can hold
showtime."
your breath.
Yeah, as long as you can hold your breath, it's showtime. Come down to the beach. Like, and that's also like I like that. That's cool that they're just that's what they're saying. Um, so after he throws the gun, they get their fingers right up to like his chin, and he's like, "Okay, now it's time to go." So he bolts down the
Also,
hall. Yeah.
I just realized. Okay, actually, no, no, finish. Because I was gonna say I got something, but I almost just spoiled something. So I'm glad I didn't say it. But go ahead.
Okay. So he bolts down the hallway, and he runs in his bathroom, and he slams the door shut, and he locks it. And he's like, "Oh, okay. What do I do?" And he's like stepping back, and he's like, "Oh." And then he spins around, and there they are. They have teleported in his bathroom because they're vengeful spirits. They're not zombies because, like I said before, there aren't zombies. They're vengeful undead spirits. So they've teleported into his bathroom, and I never understood this. But as Leslie Nielsen backs up to the wall, he unlocks the door but doesn't leave.
I think it's because he kind of just accepts his fate. Because if they can teleport to you behind not only a locked door, but a locked door in a small room behind a room that they just came from, meaning that you could probably assume that it's like a situation in which the monster can teleport when you take your eyes off of it. So the minute he closes any door or blinks or whatever, it's like a weeping angel.
Yeah.
They
Imagine
go.
imagine how cool this scene would have been. I just thought of this just now. Imagine if he actually did manage to run and he like runs out to the beach at night. And have you ever seen Scary Stories to Tell from the Dark?
I read the book.
Okay, you read the book. Okay, so you won't understand this reference that I'm making. But imagine because like you said, it's like it's like a weeping angel situation. Imagine he gets out to the beach, and and every direction he turns, the Harry and Becky are just walking like down the beach, and they get closer, and he's like turning like north, south, east, west, and they're like on every direction, just closing in. It's like no matter where he turns, they're there.
Yeah, like a fun house.
Yeah, but that scene doesn't exist, so I don't even know why I brought it up. Um,
Yeah, wait a minute. What's the point of that again? Oh, right,
yeah.
there was that.
Oh, right. Yeah, there wasn't. Um, but yeah, they corner him. We get a couple of those really good background matte or not matte, but we get those background scrim effects where like the colors are getting really vivid, and we get that really cool like manic laughing shot of Leslie Nielsen, and they're like, "If you can hold your breath," and we see footprints going back into the ocean. We order, and we see Leslie Nielsen, of course, buried up to his neck in sand, screaming, "I can hold my breath for a long time." I don't know why I gave him a country accent, but
Yeah.
for a long time. And then we get the closing still as the first wave creeps up to his mouth, and he
Oh, no,
gets
no,
that like,
no.
ooh, and
That
then,
was what my note was gonna be. So we get
oh, yeah.
after we get the little scream scene, um, we cut to the beach, obviously, and we get the
Mhm.
traditional red and blue Creepshow lighting, and then they had the lights lit up all green and everything.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, I will say though, one of my favorite, probably my favorite ending to one of these, has got to be something to tide you over, because yeah, the wave creeps up on him. He's like, I can hold my breath for a long time. Ah, ha, 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 ha. The wave splashes up on him, and then he just, despite being so cocky, he just all of a sudden gets nervous the minute the wave hits him. And then we get this classic music cue. Here, I'll play it for the podcast. For those who
It
maybe couldn't
sounds like
hear,
actual trash. Anyways,
okay, yeah. For those who
no,
couldn't
I'm
hear,
kidding.
it was like a doom, doom, doom,
No,
doom.
I actually like the funny like sitcom ending theme that they play when the water creeps up.
Yeah, no, because I was gonna say, because
Fucking
yeah, because when it dissolves into the comic book, this I like how he looks just like, well, I mean, obviously, but everyone in Creepshow looks like their actor, so it's just so funny to see Leslie Nielsen's face just in water, just like with a little like freaked out expression.
But this music is great right here, the one you're playing.
Yeah.
The comic book flies off the trash can and it flips to a new page.
And the page we flip to is that of Act 4, which we're about to dive in right now. Actually, not so fast, past Nigel. As I'm currently editing this, we have found out that this episode is actually going to end up being close to 5 hours long. So as a favor to our dear audience, we decided we'd spare them the horrible task of having to listen to our voices for 5 hours straight. And we are going to cut this episode into a part 1 and part 2. So, we will see you in part 2. This has been a Just a Guy Network audio production.